What is up, Nintendo Land? Welcome to Nintendo Open Air Podcast. Spring is in the air, and with spring comes a Nindies Showcase, of course. For months, the fans have cried out for more information from Nintendo, and now within 2 weeks, we have not one, but two broadcasts from the beginning. We'll be taking a closer look at the seasonal titles showcased, and of course, offering our own thoughts and opinions later in the podcast, so stay tuned. Before we begin, let me start as always by introducing the panel tonight. We've got a full house, so we've got Mo with us and Z. Our favorite number one Kirby fan, Eric, is here, and Max is also joining us. And of course, I'm your host, Jason. So, it's been a while since this topic has come up in the podcast, but tonight we start with Nintendo Labo. The launch of Labo is about a month away now, and we've had our first Labo clone, and it's kind of an interesting one. If you haven't seen anything online about it, it's the arcade bracket Switch stand from our favorite country, China, of course.
That's where all the good stuff comes from.
That's right. I mean, it tries to look official. It's got the Labo name on the site. It's got similar packaging, similar design. I think even uses similar music in their little promo video. So, what do you guys
Not
think?
similar. It uses the exact same music because it even has the little piano push. There's just no piano in the video. Yeah, it's like it's about as like if you thought Labo was generic, you guys need to look this thing up because it's literally just it holds the screen and holds two Joy-Cons side by side, so it's like a little cardboard arcade cabinet for you.
Yeah, I've got some photos here on the. If you're checking us out on YouTube, you can follow along here.
It looks great.
And you can see cardboard, although it does say Palais.
That one actually says Labo on it too.
Yep.
Can't stop the Chinese counterfeiters.
I guess Nintendo can't sue them because China doesn't care.
China doesn't have copyright laws.
Yeah.
Actually. The country doesn't have copyright law, so they can bootleg everything over there.
Wow. Goes through the steps one by one. It's this is my favorite image here. The four hands playing.
I can't imagine playing like that.
It looks comfortable, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. I'm sure those are children's hands or someone with extremely small hands.
You know, that said, though, that might be a more functional stand than the Nyko dock at this point.
Yeah, well, this one won't brick your system, at least.
Unless you drop it on the bricks.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be hard-pressed. I totally like that. It's like a cute little arcade console, but it is.
I think I did see, it didn't in one of the pictures or in the video, I think they actually show that, like, there's like a little cutout on the back for the cord to run through, so like you can leave it plugged in and stuff. Yeah, they've thought of everything. High class, because you couldn't have just cut a hole in the cardboard yourself. You're going to be playing with it so long that you're going to want it to be plugged in.
That's right.
It's probably just going to never go back on the dock again after this. It's kind of a neat idea, I guess. It's just funny that they're trying to cash in. Like I said, I think the floodgates are going to be open soon enough where you just see all kinds of third parties trying to cash in, especially if it's success. Like if Labo becomes a success, you're going to see a lot of weird third party things like this.
When you say cash in, but I didn't show the prices there. It's in Chinese. But of course, the translation to U.S. dollars is the main retail price is $15.48. But it's on a sale right now for $6.30. So not exactly breaking the bank.
No, they're going to get some shipping and handling out of you though, as well. And being that it's just cardboard.
Yeah, there's no software that goes with it, right? It's just kind of it's a cheap knockoff, but it doesn't. I guess. Now, that said, if they were to come up with instructions with how to build something in Labo Garage, like that seems to me like a legitimate third-party add-on. Something just like this, but hey, here's instructions for how to actually make it do something.
Yeah, I could see other companies doing that.
Yeah. But of course, they would probably have to pay Nintendo for an official license, yada, yada.
So
what
you
if
think
Lego came out with some sort of set that you could build and put Joy-Cons into? Sorry, Jason.
That's a really interesting idea. That was going to be my question. So you guys think we're going to start seeing people like Hori and Powerade and the different ones coming out with their own version of cardboard? Is Nintendo going to allow that, or as we find out a little later, they started locking down on
price?
Yeah, I mean, you can't copyright cardboard. I don't think.
So Nintendo will allow it for a price, right? It'll be a license thing. Or it'll have to actually pay to print cardboard.
Yeah.
Or plastic versions of the cardboard things. Like here's a little sturdier fishing
more
rod.
likely. Yeah,
3D printer.
But I don't know. I think a lot of people probably will hold off and take a wait and see to Labo. To see if anything ever becomes of it. But I guess somebody's got to be designing something right now, probably in case it does become a hit, because you want to get to market as quick as you can for something that's flash in the pan. But I'd imagine you could be ready to print up a bunch of cardboard sheets at relatively moment's notice.
Yeah, I imagine if this does just a flash in the pan and it's just very short-lived, I imagine months afterwards, not actually finding Labo, but all the fake stuff that's rolled into retailers.
Yeah. This is like, I think we saw a plastic stand like was a month ago or something. That was like a Versus cabinet where there was like a plastic thing where you can use two switches, one on each side. And I think that was a much cooler idea, but this is like kind of a novelty thing that you'll put together and never use, I think.
Play with for 5 minutes and then.
Yeah. You could just be like, well, why don't we just hold these in our hands instead? It's much more comfortable that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was funny when I first saw it. And the video is hilarious because it literally is the exact same music. They just copied and put their video over, and then it just kind of abruptly stops like before it's over because it's a different length. So
and if you want to pull up that site, I found it through, I think, Nintendo Life, who had an article about this, and they had a source at the bottom. So the translating from Chinese is pretty great too if you're interested in it. So.
Yeah, it's fun. It's interesting. It's not gonna sell very well here, I don't think. Wait till they show up on eBay from U.S. sellers, I guess. We'll see what those prices end up being.
All right, so we're talking about some fake stuff. Now we're going to talk about Nintendo cracking down on the hackers. So Switch 5.0 came out, I guess, a couple of weeks ago now, and didn't see a lot on the surface as far as improvements. We've got some new icons and things like that, as we've mentioned before. And it seems as this firmware update has locked out a lot of the previous hacks that have been done, or will eventually. They're going to. I know. The other part of it is they're going to redo the Tegra chip that's in the Switch. So new Switches coming out won't be able to be hacked, or they're calling it impossible to be hacked. So.
Yeah. They're from I guess it was YouTuber Spawnwave anyway that was reporting this that I saw. Sorry, Z.
Well, I was just going to say, at least they can't be hacked the same way, right? The new chips will fix the flaws, but it's a hardware refresh only because it's, you know what I mean? Like, how many other consoles have had hardware refreshes under the hood that weren't really necessarily publicized? So this sounds like it's one of those. But you were saying YouTuber
Spawnwave was the guy that I saw report this first of all, and I guess he went on a bunch of like the NeoGAF forums, and there's was it GBA Temp, I think is one of the forums where people that are into the homebrew scene, it's like all their progress basically was wiped out by this latest update. Like they just can't get in to do stuff anymore. And then he said that it looked like they were like the kernel has now been password protected. So it's like it was already impossible to get to, but now there's a password that you have to enter in to get to it as well. to make it even harder. And that there was evidence that it looks like they were going to do a new version of the Tegra chip that had a new boot file, I think they said, that would lock out even like these hardware hacks that people are doing, like the Linux update that we talked about that was going in through a physical thing. Apparently they're going to change the chipset slightly. So if you've got a current Switch, or if you want to do homebrew stuff in the future, you better go buy a Switch now before they start shipping it out with a new firmware.
And don't download
otherwise,
update 5.0.
Yeah, and don't connect it to the internet, because it's all going to be shut down soon, which is, I mean, I guess all manufacturers do that, but Nintendo's been especially vigilant about it. Paying people to give them tips about hacking. If you remember when that was that last year when the Switch came out, when they were talking about that?
Well, that's a thing though, like in the tech industry now.
Yeah.
Like that's a pretty common a bug bounty kind of thing.
We all thought that with these stuff coming out and saying, bragging Nintendo can't patch this out and so on, we thought Nintendo was going to leave this alone, and then just suddenly, in true Nintendo fashion, they shut it down.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising.
And there was one huge side effect that I know one of us was affected by, and that is, or I don't know if we were affected by it, but at least we'll have to stop using their third-party dock. That's apparently
that affects me. Yes, the fact that I can't use this thing anymore, or at least be comfortable using it. I'm afraid to use it now.
But it hasn't bricked your Switch, though.
No, but it's and honestly, I kind of figure that I know its quirks, and I'm not terribly concerned. Like I think I know how to avoid it doing anything weird. I've got like the extra little manual HDMI switch hooked up to it, and whatever, and I think I've got it all figured out. But I'm still not gonna try it out yet. We'll see. At some point, I might.
Yeah, that was
what I'm talking about. I didn't really mention.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just saying the Nyko dock, right, is reports of it bricking the switches.
Yeah, which there always have been, but apparently something changed in the firmware that there's been a higher reported rate now of, and in fact, that Spawnway, the same guy who reported, also said his Switch is now bricked. Which he said when they did the new update, he downloaded the new update, and then he was in a certain part of his house, and he's like, you know what, I'll just hook up to the Nyko dock because it's here. And after that, it basically, and it's weird because it's bricked in a way where it still powers on, and it gives you like a Nintendo screen, but it never will actually boot to the menu. So, more than likely something in the firmware that was probably an anti-hacker thing. Just when it is on the Nyko dock, it's not getting the answer from the firmware that it expects, and says somebody's trying to hack this thing. Shut it down. But you'd think Nyko would want to be in contact with Nintendo.
Yeah,
be like, hey, asshole, you're screwing us both. But or I don't know. I'll tell you what, it can't be good for Nyko's stock has to be down.
Yeah.
I'm just pulling this thing out now, man. I mean, it's disappointing because otherwise it's a neat little piece of hardware. It's got all the ports. It's got everything you need. It should have been a no-brainer.
Well, then, if that guy were to send his bricked Switch to Nintendo, they would say, "No, we're not fixing it because you use an unauthorized third party."
Right. Well, Nyko, he had tweeted about it, and Nyko did offer to replace his Switch, but the kind of site he has, like his YouTube channel, is a lot. He's put custom skins on his Joy-Con. Like one of his things is he takes crap apart. So it's like he's like, I would let you guys replace this, but I'm on camera opening this thing up, and doing all kinds of stuff that basically voided the warranty. So I don't feel right taking your money. So he wouldn't let Nyko replace it because, he was like, it obviously it wasn't anything he did, but he's like, I've done enough stuff to this that he didn't, which is kind of noble. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's noble, but I think misguided in this case. If it were Nintendo offering to replace it, sure, but it's Nyko, and it's like your piece of shit did brick it. Like,
yeah,
I would,
You know,
but it's not. But it's not really Nyko's fault. It's not really Nyko's fault either, though. It's
Nyko's
if Nintendo changed the firmware.
It is because it was bricking consoles beforehand. It's Nyko's fault for putting out a shoddy product in the first place.
Yeah.
So,
but that's what's weird about this generation of accessories. Sorry, go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say, as far as I know, Nyko has done nothing to try to warn people or remedy the problem before. So
I haven't.
No.
Yeah,
they've just basically said if something happens, we'll replace your console, but that's about it. But this is like the first generation I can remember where there's accessories like this that now are dependent. It's not just your dock is not just a piece of hardware. It's got firmware and software in there, that has to be lined up properly for stuff to work, which is
and it controls your power. Because here's the thing, right? Is all the accessories were never something that controlled the power for your console itself. Right? Every other accessory was something that was an external plug-in, but your console was still the master. In this case, this thing's the master. This thing, has all your ports, has your connection out to the TV, has your power. And actually, in my case, it's with the Nyko dock, what it is, it's the HDMI connection that seems to be the flaky component. That seems to be the problem. When I have, and at least on my monitor, because maybe I have a Keep Alive or whatever, but it does weird stuff where it won't sleep right, it won't charge, battery dies. But as soon as I disconnect the HDMI cable, it was fine. Again, this is pre 5.0. I haven't put on this is 5.0, and I guess I'm not going to after you telling me that.
That reminds me of another thing with 5.0. So people have been reporting that their Switch is warm now, like when they'll keep it, if you sleep your system in the dock or whatever, and they take it out, they're like it's hot. So apparently sleeping your system is a little different now after 5.0, because you remember there was that little note about stuff downloading faster. Apparently it keeps it connected to your Wi-Fi at all times now, so it's constantly connected. And if you have a LAN, the same thing. So if you don't shut it down, it's still running on some, looking for internet connections to see if you bought something so it can download it.
I can confirm that you're right. I was messing with I was sitting in the drive-through for In-N-Out last night, and I was, because the drive-thrus are notoriously long, and so I was messing with my phone hotspot while I was sitting in the drive-thru and trying to get my 3DS connected to it. And I noticed that my Switch was just permanently connected. Like it wouldn't, like, you know what I mean? When I was trying to find devices and whatever, the Switch was just connected to it always, even though it was slept.
Yep. Yeah. If it's not off, it's going to be looking for that internet now. So
it's chewing up your battery.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's in kind of a low power mode, because I will say this is like normally when you would sleep your Switch, you could go, I don't know how long the battery, it seemed like I would lose maybe 10% a day if I was slept and didn't touch the thing. Like it seems like the battery lasts a good long time. So I assume that that's going to suffer, but beyond that, during actual gameplay and whatever, it probably isn't going to make any significant difference.
It's just going to eat into your bandwidth.
Well, you can probably turn that off. You
can put it in airplane mode before you sleep it or something like that, probably.
Yeah, that said, it still would download these updates. I think it would just only wake up to check every so often. Like that's how the Wii U does it.
I would like an option to stay connected to Wi-Fi when in sleep mode. No, like that would solve it for me.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing: is what if lots of people like myself probably don't care that there's if updates download nightly or whatever. Wake up to connect once a day, download updates. That's fine. If there's something that there's an update for that I want to play, unless it's a giant update, I haven't seen any of those where it's just out of the blue. Here's 2 gigs to download. Yeah. Usually it's you know what I mean. Usually, I gotta wait 5 minutes. Whatever. I'm not too concerned.
Yeah,
you know,
unless you're actually downloading a game.
That's true.
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm just if I just bought it, then I'm actively manually downloading it or whatever. I'm not concerned. Like I just kicked off the download. Like I don't think this seems like a problem that didn't necessarily need to be. That wasn't necessarily a problem. Yeah.
That's Nintendo's thing. They address the problems that you never knew you had.
Wow,
just like
they
give you
ones.
Just like they give you the games that you never asked for.
Speaking of which, that Eternal Darkness, man, that's going to be my new quest for a little while, I think. And I'm going to get it, and it's probably going to suck.
That was one of those titles that Nintendo recently reapplied for the patent on or the trademark on or whatever.
Oh, maybe they'll drop an HD one. This would be the place to do it, and then I'll be pissed that I paid $40 for the original.
Of course, it'll be on 3DS, like all GameCube games now.
Well, again, that's sticking with. Although I think the OG 3DS should have been the game. No, yeah, the OG 3DS should have been the GameCube. The new 3DS is the Wii, and then the Switch is the portable Wii U. So they've kept with that system all the way through, and the Switch is the last one, right? There will be no, large console there will be no home console for the next handheld to be a version of.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. What Nintendo does does everything have to be a handheld and home console moving forward forever? At least the next generation will be, because if Nintendo has success with anything, they drive it into the ground. So.
Yeah, they will ride it until they can't ride it anymore.
This has already been successful enough that I can guarantee you the next thing is going to be the Switch U.
Well, here's the thing: is it's to speculate about what the next Nintendo console is going to be after the next Switch is to speculate about the future of entertainment technology in general. Are screens going to go away? Are we going to have VR in our eyeballs? Like, you know what I mean? At some point, the Nintendo console is going to be something you just keep in your pocket and play in your head. So,
it's heavy, man.
That's pretty deep stuff there.
I'm just saying, right? Because I'm just saying, right? We're in this kind of era where, right? What do you watch TV on, Mo? You watch it on a Amazon stick, right? It's a thing. It's
or on my phone
but for your TV, for example, right? It's the same thing. I have a Roku, and it's like it's something literally the size of a few rolled up dollar bills or whatever. You know what I mean? It's and that's your entire unit that you use for streaming.
Yeah.
Unimaginable.
I'd much rather watch it on my Switch.
Well, fair enough.
Still waiting, Nintendo.
So we're just in that era where the future of entertainment technology is really kind of open. We're going to see some, and again, that's what Nintendo loves, is opportunities to do something weird and bizarre that nobody's ever really thought of doing before or thought was a good idea.
The NES stick, where you can just put a stick into the HDMI and have a wireless Nintendo controller. I mean, that would be that's effectively than what they've got.
That's effectively the next miniature version of the Mini, and they probably could, because it's one little board in those things. It's the same board in both of the Minis.
They just got to throw an extra eye into it, and they can call it the Nintendo Stick with 2 eyes. Like,
I like it.
Steak.
The Nintendo Steak Pack.
They'll call it the joystick.
It could look like a little tiny keychain NES. In fact, it could be a little keychain NES with just an HDMI port that you just
They can make it like a USB drive. You know, that's basically what they are now. Like the Fire Stick.
It's like
basically like exactly one of those USB sticks.
Totally. That'd be awesome. A little mini Super Nintendo USB stick, or HDMI stick that you just pop into your TV, and you got wireless, and you're done.
They could probably do it USB too. A lot of TVs have USB now.
We're kind of on a tangent, but it is kind of cool that the controllers now, the consoles are smaller than the controllers.
That's how they're going to sell us the virtual console. It's just going to go into the USB on the Switch dock. I'm
going to go a step further and say we're going to not even have a console in the future. It's just going to be streamed to us. It's going to pay for that, online service eventually.
Yeah. Well, they'll have some sort of physical thing that you buy to give you the right to stream it.
Nintendo will always sell you a toy. Whether they will always sell you a toy.
There could just be the Nintendo app.
Yep.
It's on your Fire Stick, or you can download on your phone, or
I'm talking about sell amiibos to go with it.
Yeah, you just have some kind of HUD there that just takes care of everything.
Of course, by then Z's already going to have the NFC reader in his hand, so he can scan his amiibo and watch it on his eyeballs.
Yeah, and then the amiibo will have self-walking legs, so they can just walk over and hop into my hand.
I know. It'd be nice if the Switch could do that, so I didn't have to change games.
Yeah.
Can we not talk about the fact that I have to buy cartridges?
Yeah.
I hate this.
We've done that enough.
Yeah.
What's next on the agenda tonight?
All right.
Unless you got something good, Jason. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You got something good? All right.
I was just going to say we were all reminded of that every time we have to change a game.
I know. It's a pain. At least yours is right there.
That's true. So speaking of swapping out game carts, we're going to talk about Splatoon 2 Rank X. We've got some new information about it in the past week or so. We found out that S plus 10 players and above automatically going to be Rank X. And
congratulations, you're already X. You
just
don't know.
It sounds like the new system is going to be similar to like League mode now, where you have a power that increases and diminishes, and you're going to have a cutoff. And if you don't, if you aren't above the cutoff line, then you're going to be dropped back to S plus 9 again. So
I wonder if they'll put a timed thing into it. I found out in Rocket League last week, because I hadn't played the competitive mode because my game's been crashing, that if you don't play competitive mode for a while, it unranks you again. It still lets you keep whatever, if you had hit the achievement already, for which I had for whatever level, but if you don't play for, I'm guessing it must have been 30 days, it's like you got to play a couple more matches now to get ranked back to wherever you were.
So kind of like Grisco does, slowly over time.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
That's something I'm concerned about too. If
Grisco holds better now, though.
Yeah. But still, I wonder, with it being a cutoff, I just wonder if you not hit Rank X and then put it away. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it would drop you back down, because I did that when I hit S plus. I was like, all right, I'm S plus now. I'm not gonna play ranked anymore.
Well, and it sounds like the threshold is based on what everyone's score is. So, like, if you played Rank X and say you got like 2200 was your score, but then the cutoff for the next month was 2300, I guess you would automatically be dropped.
Yeah, so you have to maintain some sort of power level or whatever.
Right. Yeah. That sounds like a real pain. Is it just me?
But for the people that are out there that are playing at the top, and see, that's the thing, is a lot of Nintendo stuff, I feel like the first Breath of the Wild DLC, it's like that's for the real high performance players that want that challenge. But I think most of us don't. Like, we all love Splatoon.
I don't.
We're not all S pluses and S plus 10s.
But that's maybe they're dropping that kind of stuff because they figure that's what the Twitchers and YouTubers are.
That'll bring the hardcores in.
And it's what people want to. It's what people want to watch, not necessarily play themselves, right?
Yeah. Let's see the best of the best.
I think it's all.
Yeah.
It's all a move to a different rating system, which I think is something they started. They're just continuing to progress to. But there is something about it. A couple more things. One thing is you also if you are in rank X, you will get a ranking that could be displayed on Splatnet too if you're in the top 500, and also it ranks you by your weapon. So if you're out there grinding that splatter shot, you could be ranked the top player. So that's kind of an interesting thing.
I could see, like, I'm the best sniper in the game.
Right, that would be something to gun for.
Yeah.
Okay. But it will affect all of us because they have said after this goes into effect that where we're getting, pretty regular new weapons and new maps, this will be moved to a once a month type deal. I'm guessing it will be during the calculating phase because it's going to end on the last day of the month. So during that phase, I guess is when we'll get new things from here on out. Kind of disappointing.
Yeah. Although, really, most of the stuff they give us, other than new stages, which I love, like I don't really ever care for most of the new weapons. It's just like you buy it because you've got the money, and then you don't ever use it.
Sometimes seems like it is a long wait to get that weapon that you actually want to use.
Although the Splattershot Junior custom or whatever that I've been using since that came out, I guess that was an update weapon with the auto bombs and the ink storm.
I've been using the Octobrush Nuevo, so it's new. There's several others. They're still good.
Yeah. It's nice to have options.
And speaking of stages, they will be limiting the amount of stages in rotation. So I don't know if that I guess it means in rank altogether.
Yeah. Didn't we bring that up last week? I think where the ranked mode, there's or maybe not. Maybe I just read it and thought we talked about it. But yeah, they're gonna do something with a ranked where certain levels are tied to certain modes. Is that right?
I think it's I think they're reducing the amount of maps that will be available at one time.
Okay, so it's
going to be 8 maps instead of all of them.
Okay, so that's for across all the modes.
That's the way I understood it. Yeah.
Okay.
They want you to perfect your skills.
Yeah, which that'll help do it. Because before you had to be awesome at every level. Now you just have to be awesome at 8 of them.
And I know times that we play together, sometimes we'll pop on and it'll be, maybe a map we don't like or anything. You kind of have to relearn it in a way.
Yeah. Like I said, I know I'm sure people who are at the peak performance levels also have certain weapons that they're like, oh, I use this weapon for these stages and stuff like that. So that'll narrow it down for some of them too.
So if you're looking to improve and you're up into S+, this is definitely something to go for, I think. Help you sharpen your skills, but to the average player, it doesn't mean much, I don't think.
Yeah, I will not be playing with you guys.
Nor I.
Me neither.
Nor I.
I'm still ranked A in Clam Blitz.
I think I am as well.
At it.
I started
that still sounds vulgar to me, Clam Blitz. More so than Snapper Canal.
No, I think it's not more than Snapper Canal.
Anyway, so moving on from these comments, we did get news that there will be another sponsored Splatfest in Japan, and it is a Nike-sponsored Splatfest, which is not one I saw coming. So if you haven't seen it, there's pretty cool art up. Retweeted it up on our Twitter account.
How is it Nike sponsored? What is it?
It's based on 2 different shoes.
Yeah, it's like old classic shoes or a new line of shoes that's coming out. So it's obviously meant to promote their new classic or their new line. So you can choose whether you prefer their old shoes or their new shoes that are coming out.
They're really brand whores in Japan, huh?
Yeah.
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 Why do you think we haven't had any here?
Yeah,
that's money. That's extra money.
Well, no, I know, but the fact that would fly in Japan, that wouldn't fly nationally here. That would work in certain markets.
Could you imagine if there was a Pepsi versus Coke Splatfest?
Ooh,
I know that would be one.
That'd be intriguing.
Yeah.
Red. It'd be red versus white again.
It would be red versus probably blue.
Blue.
Yeah, but Mama likes that white paint.
I do. Although Pepsi did just revert back to their classic white cans.
Yeah, I guess you could go red and white there.
Drink Pepsi. It's the choice of a new generation.
Yeah, marketing. Old Star Wars versus new Star Wars. Old Star Trek versus new Star Trek. Maybe I'm just because I'm an old man.
Han shot first versus Greedo shot first.
Oh, I would love that.
There's a lot better ideas than the ones Nintendo's coming up with. Maybe they should bring in some outside help.
Just ask fans to suggest them, please.
I mean, for God's sakes, they can dip into themselves, pick a Pokemon. You know?
Do you remember when they did this? Didn't they do that? They did Pokemon Red versus Blue in the first game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, to coincide with the launch of their yeah. That was wise. See, why aren't they doing that?
You know, they just
Donkey
did that
Kong,
stupid
Funky Kong versus no funky mode. I don't know.
They did they did the Kirby poll. There was some kind of Kirby poll they were promoting for like, what's your favorite ability or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They could just do a poll like that for like, here's some Splatfest ideas. Which ones, you could vote on My Nintendo. Like,
how about this? Funky mode versus battle mode.
It's a little deep.
Nintendo did acknowledge funky mode in a tweet, by the way. They were announcing that they were going to be at, I think it was Nintendo UK. They were going to be at some event in the UK. And then in the corner of their tweet, they had the little new funky mode logo. So they've embraced the meme once again, only a month or so late this time.
They've kind of got off the meme wagon lately, so.
Yeah.
That's good for them.
But they're always creating new ones.
Yeah, intentionally or not.
They might be trying too hard. Like when I saw in the latest Direct when the Splatoon guy made the new pose, I was like, now he's just trying.
So now here's a question that I haven't seen. Have we seen any demographics on the Switch yet?
There's that one about it? Yeah, there was that one about. Oh no, that wasn't demographics. It was just about who plays it in handheld or.
Yeah, but
they had one about Animal Crossing, the Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. They said like 3/4 of the players are women.
Or
female.
Or identify as female, because
identify, yeah. As I do. I
do sometimes.
I have recently dipped
World of
back
Warcraft,
in.
I usually did.
Those bastards got me to dip back into Pocket Camp for a limited Mario thing. So I got all the little Mario stuff. And then they had a fishing tournament. So I was like, well, I guess I'll do the dumb fishing tournament since it's coinciding with the Mario event. And then today they announced there's going to be a second Mario thing that starts soon with more Mario stuff. So I guess I'm just back for good now.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you better buy those Leaf tickets.
No, I'm not going to go that far.
Something wrong with you, man.
I've been seeing your posts on Twitter, and it's like, it's breaking my heart. Stop posting.
Yeah. Your town, no one's going to recognize you in your campsite, jeez.
I'm not the least bit concerned about that.
Isabel misses you.
I'm sure
she's lost without you.
Leaf can't believe you haven't started your garden yet. Mabel's sewing machine is cold.
It's already deleted, man. I'm not picking it back up.
Did I mention you get 5 My Nintendo Platinum points for doing like 1,000 requests or something?
Does anyone here still have it on their phone?
I do.
Mo.
I don't play it, but I have it.
I have it. I don't play it anymore, though.
Okay. You're not selling anyone here, Mo.
I know. No, it's still awful.
There's some people that are hardcore into this. And
you want to know what? You know what? You want to know? It's actually since this is kind of like an update because I hadn't played it in over a month before I hopped back in. They've added like little animations and stuff that have made it even worse. Like because like once you get to a new friend level with somebody, it shows like a little van driving from like a heart with a number 3 on it to a heart with a number 4, and it's like unskippable.
Oh, no.
So it's like they've just made it long. It's just like, just move. Like, I wish you could, anytime like I give somebody a fish and then it shows like an animation of them cooking the fish and stuff, I'm like, just let me skip it. Just let me give them what they want and let's get this over with. I don't care about the game. This is me trying to get a stupid mushroom for my campsite.
You need an autoplay feature like in Fire Emblem Heroes.
Yeah.
Why are you playing this again?
I need to run a script.
Yeah.
Because they have Mario event right now, so you can get like a Super Mario mushroom or a Mario coin or a Mario block or something that you can.
So again, and you can get this stuff in a game that you hate.
Yeah. That's what's great about it.
Have you heard of Super Mario Run? I mean,
yeah, and I have that, and I haven't played it. I've been spending too much time with Animal Crossing. No.
Oh man.
I mean, I'm only popping in a couple times a day, but
times a day.
It's awful. I know. I never thought it would be me. I didn't heed the warnings. It could happen to you, folks.
If any of you out there listening can help Momo break his habit,
I think once this new Mario stuff's done, as long as they don't come out with like a Metroid themed thing, I'll be okay.
They won't.
Which they won't.
You can rest assured that won't happen. Yeah.
I don't know. There's an Isabelle and a Samus suit badge in Badge Arcade, so anything could happen.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry,
I don't have that badge.
I'm just in the process of firing up the old Badge Arcade for the day.
By the way, I recently hit over 2,000.
To get back into it. Oh yeah.
Oh,
you got some catch up to do with Eric.
Yeah. Maybe another
Eric, what did you end at? Like how many badges? Yeah.
5,000 something. 5,200 something.
Okay. Now let me say something. Your mother tells you have a video game addiction, Mo?
Yeah.
So how many badges do you have in Badge Arcade?
Me?
Yeah. You personally.
I do have around 3,000 something. But I've played it every day for free. You know.
Okay.
It's one of those regular Nintendo maintenance things. You just log in, you get your free play,
Max,
especially since they've done free plays.
How many badges do you have, Max?
Nowhere near that many. I don't play it every day.
Okay, so you're like me. I have like 400 badges, and I think that's enough. Like I only really, get the stuff I want and whatever. So yeah, okay, fair enough. I don't.
But I want to complete
like 400 badges.
I want to complete the Splatoon set, and then it's like, well, I really should complete the Pokemon sets I've started.
And how are you guys How are you guys doing this without like spending money?
Yeah, that's the
because they do 2 a day. They do 2 free plays a day, and then you can usually get at least 1 extra one from their little thing. So you just basically grab, whatever the closest ones to the hole are, and just do that from every single catcher. And they swap out the catchers every day now. So there's usually something that I haven't got before. I'm sure at some point it's going to get to the point where I've tried everything.
Yeah, that's true. Like I see the ones, like I did one recently where it was like, oh, that's easy to clear out in like 1 or 2 swipes.
Yeah.
So I just did it, and like, I got 30 badges, but crap, I don't want. But normally I don't bother with those.
I play crane games in real life too.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not about what you want; it's about what you can get.
Yeah.
You really, if I were to win the lotto, I would send your ass to Japan so you could play all those. They have entire buildings just full of just those in Akihabara.
And I would go with you just to get the stuff that you don't want, because like I do.
But yeah, about all the stuff that I win.
Yeah, all this.
Yeah, you don't even play the lottery.
You don't like Pokemon?
Z.
Oh, I used to be in a thing with a guy from my old job, but not anymore.
Yeah.
Not since.
But that wasn't lottery related.
That was for a lot.
I left that one open.
That's what she said. All right.
We need to reel this one way back in.
So back to squids and octopi.
We did get some photos very recently of the 100 new pieces of gear that are coming out. I have to say I'm surprised because it looks like more winter gear, sweaters and jackets and coats.
There's also they released the animation for the Octo transformation that shows going from an octoling into an octopus instead of a squid. I don't know if you saw that.
I missed that.
But hasn't that animation always been in there from playing against the octolings in single player?
I don't know. I don't remember them ever going.
Know that, Jason.
Yeah. I don't remember them ever going into octo form. Because it seems like they just like jumped to you or something. But I don't know. Maybe not.
They do go into octo form and hide and ink, especially in some of the later levels. I've tried to photograph it. And one of my many thousand of photograph on the Switch, which probably has something of that.
Should clear out. Yeah.
I've tried to clear some out, but
I need to do that at some point. Try to figure out, like, why did I even take this picture? It's just too damn easy.
Mm-hmm.
I do that semi-regularly, but not even have that many. It's just burned into me from other stuff that accumulates the same way, downloads and my 3DS pictures and whatever else.
I'm never going to go back through them.
I wish I could upload them to my computer like I did on the 3DS and then just delete them all.
Maybe they should have. Maybe my Nintendo should have like a photo gallery, kind of like Miiverse, where you can put all your favorite screenshots.
Yeah.
Something like that. Be like, check out my sweet Switch memory folder.
Anyway. All right. So moving on from Splatoon, the other major legitimate competitive gaming experience on the Switch, of course, is ARMS. And recently there was a Famitsu interview, and the producer Kosuke Yabuki said they're going to continue with minute updates for ARMS from now on, or for at least for a while. But they are considering a second version if something surprising comes up. So, ARMS 2, is the world ready for it?
Legs.
No.
I don't know, man. It's I think if there was more stuff to do, we talked about this a little bit before we were recording tonight, but it's like I feel like if there was more stuff to do or they made it a bigger game somehow, I might be more interested, but I couldn't think of one thing they could do to make it like worthwhile. Oh, I know, they could put Little Mac in it and get rid of the stretchy arms and call it Punch Out. That would work.
Yeah.
I don't know. They really are pushing it hard. They think they've got this fancy new IP, and I don't know. There's a core fan base to it, so they figure. I don't know.
Maybe there is.
There's a core fan base to everything.
They have to have a number. They have to have some sort of idea, I'm sure, is just from their server loads of how many people are playing. I think it's mainly they're just serving the Japanese audience, but I'm sure there's a good handful of people in the U.S. Obviously, they're doing that U.S.-Canada Open thing, so
they're trying. I have to give it to them for trying to revive this, because when it came out, it's like, oh, and then it just kind of went away. So good on it.
They shot themselves in the foot by not putting out the amiibo.
Yeah.
Make them ultra rare.
I think
they had ultra rare amiibo that did something cool.
I do think that would have gone further towards marketing. I think more kids would have been more interested if they had amiibo. I think that they could have sold that a lot better if they'd pushed it, but it really did seem like, again, they dropped it right after Mario Kart, right before Splatoon. They just really left it out there to die. I mean,
Yeah.
Like they acted like they're supporting it, and they seem to be supporting it, but it's really like they've just dropped it. Like they didn't seem to pick a good time to drop it.
I think in the beginning they were trying to build off of what they had with Splatoon, and they thought they could just drop arms and say, "Oh, this is our, our secret sauce. Here it is," and then everyone's just going to pick it up and eat it up like they did with Splatoon.
It's Splatoon with boxing gloves. Yeah.
And when it didn't, I don't think they knew how to respond.
But what if they made Splatoon a boxing game where you could dodge punches by turning into a squid and then popping back up and punching them and then going back? See, that'd be fun.
You really want a new Punch-Out game, don't you?
Yeah. No. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like, it's funny because I always say that, man, they need an ARMS demo so that more people can get exposed to this. But at the same time, I brought up one of these previous weeks that like the demo is what pretty much killed it for most of us. Like,
yeah,
we were as on the hype train as you could be, I guess, until we played it.
Yeah,
and then we're like, pass. So,
I somehow I tried it out, and it was exactly what I expected.
It had motion control. That's all you need.
It had reasonably well executed.
Kirby had some kind of motion control, you would have it by now.
But to quote Reggie, this is not waggle control. And it's really not.
And it's not.
It is. It's a legitimate motion control experience, at least.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay. I didn't think it was a horrible game, like by any means. Like I thought it was fine. And like you said, if the reason they need a demo is because it wasn't for me, or most of us, but it's for somebody. And the way you're going to reach those people is by, at least they are now doing another global test punch one of these days. This month, I guess.
I have to this point refused to even. I just tried the button control, the regular Pro controller like one time, and was like, okay, just to see. Tried it for like 5 minutes, and then I've just refused to go back to it. But maybe I will give it a second look.
I like being able to have that. You push a button and a thing happens. Like,
see, that was the thing. That was what irked me about Punch-Out on the Wii as well. Is it was like I loved Punch-Out on the Wii, but once you got to a certain point, once you got where it started getting difficult enough, you had to switch. You couldn't use motion controls anymore. And so to me, it was like, oh, that's easy mode, because it really does, it makes the game more playable at the later levels. But I wish that wasn't the case. I wish they could make it so that the motion controls really are, like with Skyward Sword, they're ingrained. You know what I mean? You can theoretically work around them, but they're not obtrusive. They're really, I don't know. I thought they were most well done in that game.
I think if ARMS actually had a competitive scene, like where they had it, at actual competitions, I would guess most of the players would probably be using the Pro controller.
I'm certain nobody would be using at a pro level. I'm certain nobody's using motion controls. Yeah.
So.
And I just wish that wasn't the case, but that's how it is most of the time.
That's where we are. Maybe when the Labo suit comes out, that'll change the way we play ARMS.
I hope so. I would use the Labo suit for ARMS. I bet you maybe that's what they're talking about. Maybe that's what they're talking about.
That's your legs right there, boy.
Of ARMS. Maybe that's what they're talking about, though, with the second version of ARMS. It's like, okay, if Labo does well enough, we can, if enough people buy this robot suit, then it'll be like Rob. We'll produce 2 games.
It'll just be like, I'm imagining like a chest, like something you wear on your chest that has 4 pulleys with a Joy-Con attached, and you just like stretch it down and attach it to your shoes and then pick up the 2 in your hands. Like, all right, I got my ARMS rig on. Let's do this. Yeah, I don't know. Poor ARMS. It gets the most airtime on this podcast for a game that one of us owns.
Only one of us played.
We want to like it, though. Yeah.
By the way, the test punch does start March 31st, 3 days. So Easter weekend.
That's Max's chance to finally try it for herself.
Are you going to play it?
If I remember. If I'm able to.
Yeah, you guys, let's all do it. Let's all get on and try to pick a time to play some ARMS.
Let's smoke some noobs. Oh.
Can we do that through the test punch? Is there friend meetup?
I don't think so.
Oh, in the test punch? That's a good question.
I don't think
the answer is no.
Probably if we were in the same room, we could probably do local multiplayer.
All right.
Something, I don't know.
No, they probably don't even let you do that on the touch punch. Yeah.
I was just thinking there's probably like some brother-sister team or brother, sister out there that play multiplayer that way and just smoke people all the time in the game.
Well, again, that's when I was playing online, I couldn't figure out why everybody had a second icon, and then I figured out that most of the people in the matches I was playing it was two people online on the same console.
Yeah, I've played Mario Kart that way with people before. Like you can take
the wife and I do that.
And it's like it's weird to think of a 4-player boxing match.
Yeah.
Like
well, it was
but it's a thing.
It was kind of a neat mechanic. You're tied together with a tether.
Yeah.
And it's like a stretchy tether. So there's physics involved in that if you get too far away from your partner, or if your partner gets like knocked across the ring and you get yanked. And so it was kind of fun. It was neat how that worked.
It's weird. Maybe they should do a beat it game where you tie your wrists together and then you've got your other Joy-Con as your knife. I'm sure it's on Vivo, kids.
I was gonna say, man, you just lost everybody but me and Max, probably.
Yeah, but I'm gonna sell a lot of those red jackets.
Anyway,
so should we move on? Yeah. So recently there was a Genesis collection that came out on pretty much everything but Switch, if I'm understanding correctly.
Oh, you're understanding.
Yeah, that seems to be a new trend lately. It's like, oh, there's a great game. So but not on Switch.
Yeah. And as we know, the rule is something has to be out for a few years before it can come over to Switch.
That's right.
but Jason, go ahead.
I just said we'll get it in 2020. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But no, the point I was going to make, and I think that the point that you're ultimately getting at is like Namco Museum is. Can you and the Arcade Classics, Hamsters series, that those are the only things out, right? That's the only retro stuff on Switch. Am I missing anything?
It sounds about right.
Yeah.
And
well,
I mean, there's like that Wonder Boy game, but
that's like still like a HD remake or something, isn't it? Or it's not HD, but it's a
there's
modern remake.
You can switch to the vintage graphics through the menu or something, I think. But yeah, it's a new thing.
But I mean, the legitimate old school, ports are not here. Like Namco Museum is an outlier, and it came along early just because people were hungry. But it's really missing a lot of stuff. Like it's got Dig Dug, Pac-Man, Galaga, and a bunch of other random crap that you've never heard of, and like weird Galaga spin-offs that you don't care about. Oh, I forgot. Splatterhouse is the other highlight, just because it was, for its time, it got so much buzz as this horribly gory game, and when you play it now, it's so laughable.
Donald Trump would hate that game.
Yeah, exactly. That was the game. That was one of those games that was called a murder simulator back in the day, and this one literally is. I think you're like basically a low rent Jason, killing people. Yeah. Well, like demons and monsters, though. But it's 16-bit gore. It's cute.
You mean Jason Voorhees? Not our Jason.
I'm sorry, not you. Not unless you wear a hockey mask and come back for a lot of sequels.
No. Only on Halloween.
No, that's the wrong. No, that's Michael Myers.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Yeah, no, that's Friday the 13th. So that's more random and sporadic. Halloween's more consistent.
That's right. That's why we never have podcasts on Friday the 13th. So,
by the way, April 13th this year is a Friday.
Oh, and the week following is the drop of Labo.
Ooh.
That's right, 420 dog.
420. How many people do you think will roll up joints in their car in like cardboard remnants from Labo?
I'm planning on smoking the RC car.
I'm smoking Falling Man or Fall Guy or whatever we call him.
I still don't know if he is included or not. He's not.
We don't know.
He's not listed on any of the things. Extra. Like I'm wondering if he's. You remember what was the?
You gotta cut out
Wii,
your own Fall Guy.
What was the Wii U thing? There was like the action figure guy. They called him something. Like the
there was like a random non-specific.
Yeah. It's like I'm wondering if the Fall Guy is like that, where he was just there to demonstrate, but he wasn't an actual part of the kit.
Like, hey, someone cut out a little man shape.
But he's going to be in Smash, so they gotta make him eventually.
That's right. We can say we officially support.
Should just be. Did somebody already say he should just be a skin for Mr. Game and Watch?
Yeah, I
think somebody already said that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Sorry, what were we talking about? Oh my God,
I completely forgot. Yeah, what were we talking about?
We were talking about
the Genesis collection that's not coming.
Oh yeah. So that belies. I think there's something big coming with the virtual console or lack thereof. Right.
The online service.
Namco Museum on every other console, every other version. It seems like lately, Namco Museum, they drop it and then Ms. Pac-Man's a $5 DLC just because there's extra licensing involved for that. Because long story. Right, but that's always the one people want, and it's always like, oh, of course, Ms. Pac-Man is extra. There's no DLC for it at all that I've seen. It's been out for a while now.
She's extra.
But right, there's no DLC for that. There's no Genesis collection. It almost seems like Nintendo's like, no, you guys hold off. We got like. Could they be trying to replicate the Wii era of the Wii Virtual Console, where they just have everything? You know, all of Sega's old stuff, all of Nintendo's old stuff like Neo Geo and TurboGrafx 16, and basically anything that isn't Sony and Xbox.
It seems like a bonehead move by, Sega. Just like I always complain about that Capcom Disney afternoon. It's like, this is the console. People who love retro the most, I feel like, are the people who are playing Switch, because we're nostalgia suckers, and it's like, why won't you sell us this old crap that we can buy again, please? Like,
I do think it's waiting. They're waiting on Nintendo for something, some big retro console announcement.
Or rather, Nintendo is making them wait.
Yeah. They're
like
being
Netflix.
forced to wait. Yeah.
They're like, sorry, we've got an exclusive deal with ACA. Hamster. We're only releasing Neo Geo games just like Hulu.
Having browsed ACA's releases on other consoles, the one big one I'm waiting for is the arcade version of Life Force, which was infinitely better than the NES version, but I'm just waiting for that. That's the only other ACA I'll buy.
Arcade version of Contra. As well.
And and the arcade version of Russian Attack and the arcade version of Commando. Fair enough.
These are except for Commando, I was going to say the other ones are all Konami, I think.
Yeah, so you'll never see them again.
That's true.
Maybe we'll
Commando
see.
is Capcom. Captain Commando. Capcom.
Yeah.
Right.
Konami seems to have forgotten or not caring about their old properties. Was the 3DS the last Castlevania?
No, that can't be right. The last Nintendo Castlevania, or
maybe the last Castlevania, and there hasn't been a Contra, I don't think, since one of the PS had a.
Well, there was
PS2
WiiWare
or PS3.
There was a WiiWare Contra revival.
I think there was one after that was on one of the things, but of course, when Contra finally comes back, it'll probably be a first person.
Wait, what was the first one you were talking about before Contra?
Castlevania.
Anyway.
Galaga. But anyway, yeah. Except for Super Bomberman R, which has a Castlevania you can play as a Dracula bomber, and there's a Galaga bomber, a Vic Viper bomber, which is also no longer going to be exclusive.
By the way, though, you okay? So no, Castlevania Lord of Shadow 2014. That's only 3 years out. And there's been 3-year gaps before. It looks like. Well,
it's 2018, baby.
A 4-year gap. You're right. The last one was a 3-year gap, 2010 to 2013. But that said, there's a Castlevania series on Netflix. So it's still floating around. There will be another Castlevania game eventually.
It'll be Castlevania the series, the game.
Yeah.
Probably.
And there'll be a collective groan.
Did anyone watch it? I tried to, and I couldn't.
I watched it. It was okay. It was well done and everything.
Only 3 episodes.
Yeah.
But they're making a second season.
It's basically like a movie that they split into different parts, it seemed like.
Yeah.
So that they can make it episodic, but
Japan's always done that with the anime releases back in the old days. So I could see that.
But
like
yeah,
I think be a 3-part miniseries kind of released on 3 VHS tapes or whatever.
I think anybody who makes any kind of Twitter announcement for a game like Sega did, if you look at the comments, it's all, what, no Switch? Where's the Switch version? Why no Switch? So something must be up. I would imagine nobody in the industry is going to be stupid enough not to put something on Switch, I would think. So I don't know what's up with that. I feel like there's something else going on. Maybe you're right. They have an exclusivity with somebody or something bigger coming up. But from a business standpoint, especially something like that costs almost nothing. Like if you're already making the game and you're making it with a bunch of existing stuff that it takes literally nothing to just port those onto a thing. You would think just to throw it on Switch is a no-brainer from a financial standpoint. So
yeah.
There was another announcement recently, and it was for the Street Fighter collection that's upcoming.
Unrelated, yeah.
Yeah, they're doing a pre-order bonus for Xbox, PlayStation, and Steam, which is Street Fighter 4, but nothing for Nintendo. Again, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I won't pre-order it because of that. On the flip side, I recognize Super Street Fighter or whatever Street Fighter 4 variant is probably already existed on those other consoles, right?
It's on the 3DS.
So, well, yeah, that's the thing is, it'd be nice if they would offer a 3DS download. Not that we probably already don't have it, most of us, because it's been $5 at some point.
Yeah. It was a launch title.
I bought it
for 3DS.
It'd be nice to complete the collection. You know what I mean? It would be, for example, you know how I get Shaq Fu a year after NBA Playgrounds because of all the screw-ups?
you.
Yeah. Right, but they could do something like that. Like they could promise, if you buy the game, during the launch month or on launch day or whatever, we promise you that, because Street Fighter 4 will eventually come out on the Switch, I would assume, and it can't be the Switch is now a known quantity. It can't be that long of a haul to port it to the Switch at this point.
Yeah.
So it's at some point they'll put it out. They can charge money for it then, but they can promise it to people now as a launch day pre-order, whatever kind of bonus. I think they should do that. Otherwise, it's just screw you, Switch people. And I won't buy it on Switch for that reason, or I'll wait until it's $5 or something. I was at day one. I was going to order it. I was going to pre-order it. In fact, it might be on my pre-order. Let me check. I might have already pre-ordered it.
Is this one you were going to pick up, Eric? I know you're a Street Fighter fan as well.
No, because it doesn't have Street.
No, it doesn't have the Switch version that you already bought. Oh.
What about the Switch version that I already bought?
I said because it doesn't include the Switch version that you already bought. That's what they should have done. They should have made that that should have been the pre-order bonus for.
Yeah, exactly.
For the Switch users, give them the $30 game that nobody's going to buy after this new one comes out.
No, it doesn't have. For some reason, they didn't have Street Fighter Alpha 2. So, and then I already have the
That's a good question.
Ahead,
do we know that Street Fighter 4 came out for those consoles?
I would assume.
It's probably available in some form, I would think. Or it probably came out in the PS. It came out in the PS3 generation, didn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, it did. That's the thing. That wasn't released, but maybe it's very easy to port PS3 to PS4. I don't know. That's just kind of crappy that they're not giving it to us then. Then there's no excuse. No, it wasn't ever released on, say, I'm just looking PS4 as an example. No, it was never released on the PS4. Therefore, WTF.
Yeah. On a happier note, Sonic Mania is getting some new characters and some new modes.
Free DLC.
And another physical release. Yeah, and they're
the only reason I stopped playing it is because more stuff came out. So much stuff came out. But I mean, that's definitely something I've been meaning to get back to because it's a solid classic Sonic game that plays really better than the originals. Yeah, but right, it's one of those ones.
And it's sweet 60 frames.
It plays as good as you remember the originals playing, which is to say, really better than the originals really played.
Yeah, and but yeah, existing owners will get all this new stuff that's coming in an update.
Groovy. And we don't. I hate when they make you jump through hoops to actually go download something for free. This is going to be free this week in the shop. Go download your free DLC. Screw you. Just give it to me. Don't make me go jump through hoops and then accidentally miss it if I didn't get the memo.
That's how that Zen Pinball was, I think. I think you had to download it within a certain time frame to get 3 free tables. Otherwise, you'd only get 1 free table.
Launch stuff is fine, but what was it called? Blaster Master Zero. It was hey, just randomly this month there's a free character, and I missed the first 2 before I figured it out because they were giving them free characters.
And you had to pay for them if you missed the free one, right?
Yeah, and so I'm not going to, and whatever. It's something for free, but it's just kind of you know what I mean. It's as a PR thing, you're going to irritate some people with that. If you just let everybody say, here you go, free DLC, it just automatically downloaded into your game, then everyone's happy.
And it's free forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not like it costs you anything. You know what I mean? The whole, for example, with a coupon, some people aren't going to have the coupon or whatever, right? Stores depend on certain people not cashing in on the deal and paying full price. In this case, it's, you know what I mean? It doesn't cost them anything. I don't think anybody's, you know what I mean? Anybody who wants that character already paid for it. It's not, and it's dollars one way or the other. It's not, I don't know. It just feels like, I feel like I'm being, and they're not Nintendo, of course. And again, they were giving something away for free. I can't complain. Maybe it's a technical reason they had to do it that way. Or they just thought it was, make it a fun gimmick, but
probably just promotion for the game.
Yeah, just promotion, and it draws attention because then every month they have a reason, an excuse to tweet about it again, I suppose. But it's, I don't know. It leads into my further gripes about things like my Nintendo, but that's getting off on a tangent.
I wanted to system ever.
I wanted to roll back into that Sonic Mania for a minute. Getting a physical release of that with the new content, right?
Yep. Yeah, because previously there was a statue at launch that you could get, but it just came with a digital download code. So this is the first actual physical release, I guess, of it.
And the physical release is more expensive, isn't it? $10 more?
I think it is 30.
Standard Switch tax. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is what it is. For collectors, here's the thing. It's really $24 if you have any sort of membership, right? So there's that. It's really only $4 more.
Yeah, but I wonder if physical sells really well because it seems like to put a game out in a physical, which they do a lot after it's already been out for a long time. I wonder if there is a sub-market of people that are just well, if it was physical, I would have bought it, but since it's a digital only, I'm not.
There's some.
I feel like that was us a few years ago. Maybe,
nah.
Where, maybe, I don't know. To me, I've kind of accepted, if it's digital only, I guess I'll buy it digitally. But there has to be some reason for them to do it.
You know what honestly really popped my cherry on that was the Wii U, whatever that the deal was you got the deluxe edition.
Digital deluxe.
The
digital deluxe
yeah.
thing. That was really what kind of got me because, and then it was that combined with 20% off the eShop cards at Best Buy, and I bought like $200 worth. And so like it was just download only for the next 2 years. And yeah, that really kind of sold me on just having. I love them. The Wii U is still on my desk. The pad is still right under my computer monitor where I work and sit all day, because it's just got everything on it. Like I kind of wish that you know what I mean. Since the Switch is out, it's more convenient to carry around. But I kind of miss bringing the Wii U around because it was just like plug it in, bam, everything's on it. Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, anything, at least any of the co-op games or any of the multiplayer games. I just got the download. Wii U Party, Game and Wario, Nintendo Land. I almost did, but I had 2 copies of the disc. But it's just I love the fact that I can I leave Nintendo Land in it, and then I plug in Mario Party sucked. I got that on disc, but that was because I got it later because it was cheap because it sucked. Which did you
That'll
guys
be their next thing? Like tennis kind of sucked, and now there's a new tennis, so there should be a better apology version of Mario Party coming soon.
Do we think this tennis is an apology version of tennis? Do we think it's going to be better? Because I'm tempted.
I think it looks better. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it can't be
anything looks
worse.
better than that Wii U one. Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Here's the thing: is
the 3DS version was probably better.
In just looking back through it, I never realized like original Game Boy Color Mario Tennis. I think I brought this up last week. Through the current one, is all the same company, which makes me
Camelot.
It gives me a little more. And at least the random ones I've picked up here and there over the years I've had fun with. Like I didn't bother to pick up the Wii U one. I heard it was total.
Did Camelot do the Wii U one? Mario Ultra Smash? Mario Tennis?
I think they did.
Yeah. And they do the golf series as well, right?
Well, and then see like the Mario Golf on 3DS I got as a Club Nintendo freebie.
I love that game.
And it was between that and Yoshi's New Island. And I actually I can't believe I even consider, you know what I mean? Like no comparison. This is a solid game, and that's just another Yoshi's Island game.
And that was one of the first games that they experimented with DLC on, because that game has paid DLC. Although I've never bought it, as much as I loved the game.
Same here.
Nope, I've got enough right here.
No, I totally agree. Yeah. More courses, sure, but it's like there's plenty in it. Like that was when Nintendo truly was stuck to their word about we want to put out a complete game that DLC really is only for the extra type stuff. And
the courses were kind of wacky too.
Yeah, no,
that were DLC.
Fair enough. Yeah, they were kind of extreme and weird. There was plenty. There was a good solid 30 or 40 hours to kind of go through and unlock everything and whatever. You know what I mean? I was perfectly content with that. And again, for the price,
there hasn't really been any. I haven't had any problem with most of Nintendo's DLC up to this point, except for this. I mean, the Smash stuff I didn't care about, but I was like, when you're charging like
I thought it was a couple
bucks for characters, like
not even a character, a costume. Like the costume thing to me was
this is cheap.
That was really money grubbing. Like
they should have looked into first who was actually using a Mii fighter. Like, did anybody main a Mii fighter? Have you ever heard of somebody like, I main the Mii gunner?
And here was the other thing they missed out on. The way they should have worked it is there should have been DLC attached to the Wii to the characters, the amiibos. Like I should have been able to buy a Ryu amiibo and get him in the game.
Yeah.
And sure, charge me extra for the amiibo if you want, or what, however you work it out. That's how that should have worked. But then that's kind of. Oh, go ahead.
You still have to have the other option, otherwise you're locking.
Of course.
Content behind it.
Of course.
Or you could have unlocked the costumes that way or something.
Or whatever. Yeah, exactly. But right, for me, for example, I think that's what a lot of people expected when Amiibo came out is, I can go buy this character and then you use him in the game. And of course, that wasn't how they worked. But right, if you could pay, how much do they charge for new characters? Like $10, didn't they, for Ryu? Or was that to get them on
Character
both
packs.
3DS?
I remember.
Because right, that was the other whole thing is if you wanted to get them on both 3DS and Wii U, right, you could get the bundle pack for a better deal than buying.
Yeah, which I thought that was silly in the first place that you had to buy them individually for which game you've got.
Well, but then again, people who only owned one version of the game would bitch about the fact that I'm getting this for, I'm paying extra for one that I'm not going to use. So I
could have made the same price.
Fair enough. It was typical Nintendo kind of premium pricing is my point. So, but that being what it was, if I could pay, say, $15 for an amiibo or $7 for a DLC character or scale accordingly, right? I would still buy the amiibo. I think most of us would, right? You just make it so that it's still cheaper than buying the DLC character and an amiibo separately, but
probably help the amiibo aftermarket a little bit as well.
Yeah, I would think so. Mm-hmm. But I would imagine it would be a thing where you could only scan it once. Right, this amiibo's serial number is registered to this console, and therefore, because it's Nintendo.
DLC has already been redeemed for this amiibo.
Yeah, exactly. Or it would we could launch
this
into
princess amiibo is in another castle.
All sorts of great things in another console. Yeah, there's all sorts of neat ideas of things they could have done with amiibo that they didn't, but we digress.
Yeah. So, getting back to a virtual console or retro games on the Switch, rather, Hamster recently announced that they have acquired the rights to Video Systems' full catalog. And I know if you're like most of us here, I'll say, what in the world is Video Systems?
Video Systems?
Yeah, before the cast, man, we were all Googling and trying to figure out what the hell this was. Jason, you found the game list, right? And there were some long list of gems.
Yeah, there really weren't that many. The first list had 11 games on it, and there was a few more after that. I think Mo was the only one that had heard of any of the games.
Yeah, Aero Fighters is the only one I know that's supposed to be the big one of the group.
I know a lot of people were excited about. I think there was a volleyball game. So,
which I think I remember, maybe, but not well enough to care.
But the real good news is these Hamster arcade classics are just going to keep flowing. It's good news for everybody.
I need to browse a little deeper because I know there's like I said, I've looked at other consoles, some of these ACAs, and I'm really waiting for like Life Force, the arcade version of Life Force. But there's like big arcade titles that I remember that they have out on other consoles, and here we got Neo Geo Fighters. Like there's every once in a while there's a Neo Geo one that's like, oh yeah, I remember that, Metal Slug or whatever. But it's like, all right, come on guys, where's the good stuff?
Hey, you got Double Dragon.
Okay, there you go. There's been here and there.
Yeah, it's starting
Double
to flow.
Dragon and Arcade Super Mario, but it's few and far between. And it's like one a month we get something worth a damn, and then the rest is this random stuff that they have to be putting it out just because they figure people will buy it because there's nothing else. Like you know what I mean? I feel like the floodgates on the quality stuff are still closed. And part of that is the virtual console, but part of that might be the pay service. It's just, you know what I mean? It seems like it's still, I don't know. I know we're saving the Nindies Showcase for later in the show, and there is some quality stuff, but it's just so much of it just looks like something I've seen before or played before. Or, I don't know.
Yeah.
But jumping, I don't think we have much else to say on.
No.
Good for you, ACA. Let's see more stuff that we can roll our eyes at when it comes out to shop.
And the next retro subject. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say just that we can say when we see it and totally forget it ever existed.
Yeah, I'm wanting to know when those other Nintendo. I'm still waiting on my Punch Out. When are the other titles coming? They haven't said anything about those.
That's true. Yeah, where is this? They even showed like the original 2-screen footage of Punch Out. Like, how's that going to work? They haven't given us any details.
Where's my Clue Land? Oh.
Yeah.
Clue Land's good stuff, man. It's fun game.
Yeah.
Hey, I have the cartridge. I have the OG. Speaking of OG, Jason.
That's right. Talking about OG, we're going to talk about Atari Classics, which is the Atari VCS, which is kind of something we've covered before. I think we just called it the Atari box, which is what it was known as.
That's what people were calling it, yeah.
So, don't know a lot more about it, but it has a name.
Well, they've adopted, and again, the Atari VCS was an alternate name for the 2600 back in the day that they sold it as. So they've just adopted one of their old names for that console and built something that looks like it.
And it's got a joystick that looks like a 2600.
Yeah, alongside a Pro controller. 2600, yeah.
Yeah, and and something that looks just like a Pro controller, which looks just like an Xbox controller.
Here's the question, though: is the Atari licenses? Like, when we were warming up here, I was busting out my links and letting you guys see Elvira, but like
Atari links, by the way.
Yeah, my Atari links. And so there's. And I was busting out all those cartridges I have, and every one of them is like, wow, that was a big name once upon a time. That's something that was big in an arcade, or that was big on consoles, or it was something. Gauntlet and Joust and Quicks and Clacks, which I never played. I think I played Clacks a little bit, but they were just kind of weird puzzle games, kind of precursors to Tetris. Paperboy, there's a lot of these old classic franchises. On there? Yeah. I posted that picture. Right. I don't know if
Paperboy's in that sweet Midway Arcade Treasures collection for games.
Yeah. For example, what else I got? Robotron, Ms. Pac-Man. Oh, Ms. Pac-Man wasn't theirs, but Stun Runner, Road Blasters, Rampart. But it's just these are all games that I remember reasonably fondly, or at least remember playing and thinking they were cool.
When I was playing Super NES, those were the classics.
Yeah. Well, Stun Runner was relatively recent. Stun Runner, well, relatively. I mean, it's still old as shit.
Well, that was an arcade, right?
Yeah, that was one of the ones where you sat in
polygon bars coming at you that are alternating colors or something.
No, it was a kind of like an F-Zero, a little bit. But you were always running through a tube. Everything was always a tube, but you're like a little, rocket car going through a tube.
Right, but doesn't it have like alternating colors as you go through to like simulate the movement? Like it's
yeah,
like a light color and then a dark color. Yeah.
Yeah,
like every other one.
Every tube is like a striped snake, like inside. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, that was how it did it. But it was, these kinds of things, they could reuse these franchises and make some modern stuff that would be really cool if they were, if they really had the backing, if they really had some devs on board and they really, were building new stuff, I think they could make a go of this. The other thing is, because otherwise they just got an old Linux box and it sounds stupid. The other thing is they said it's going to, people will have access to Atari's classic content. Well, what does that mean? Like the same crap that's on one of these little mini Atari consoles. Like that's not. They just the new Atari console. The big headliner is they were able to secure the Pitfall license. Well, that's cool. Ooh. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, dude, you're gonna have to do a hell of a lot more than that. There's a lot more licenses you're gonna need than just Pitfall. Pitfall's great. Don't get me wrong, but there's
System
a lot
seller.
more stuff.
It's hard to say who that one's for. Who that. Because I feel like the people that are old enough to really be super nostalgic about Atari could just buy a flashback.
Well, here's the other thing. If I think they were banking on the Blade Runner movie doing better than it did. I think that was the other part of it. I think they were banking on getting some marketing out of that. But
Atari's always had their logo in Blade Runner, but it doesn't have like actual gameplay.
No, of course not. But I just figured they would get some more buzz from the retro market. But point being, so they also talk about the classic content. First of all, we all know, everybody knows who's from that era, has ever look up a video on YouTube if you've ever seen it. Any Atari game on the 2600 was frigging terrible.
Utter garbage. Yeah.
Garbage. Yeah. Each and every one of them. And there were some that had some finer points to them, but at the end of the day, they were crappy games through and through. And so,
although if you had nothing else to play at the time,
exactly,
that Asteroids isn't horrible.
Yeah, but there was immediately there. That was the thing. That's all there was when it came out. Very quickly, there were other consoles, that were coming along, but just could not crack into that market for some reason. Point being, these games are terrible, even to people nostalgic for it. They're bad.
Yeah.
So
picture, if you can, a time when the NES would blow your mind with how much superior the graphics and gameplay were.
Yeah, and there were consoles in between the Atari and the NES that were incrementally,
better
than the Atari. So nobody wants to play those. People will mess with that for 5 minutes and go, "Wow, this is what people actually played this crap." That's what people will do, right? And that nostalgia buzz wears off after 5 minutes. Where do you go from there? I don't know. They better have something. Now there was an Atari 5200 and an Atari 7800. There was an Atari Jaguar. There was an Atari Lynx. There were a few failed Atari consoles in between there that never saw the light of day. So what can they dip into? Like what do they still have licenses for Lynx and Jaguar? Because again, I'm looking at all these Lynx games here. There's some good titles, and I have a ton of Jaguar games. Similarly, they weren't bad. The Jaguar was almost a Nintendo 64. It was kind of in between a N64 and a Super Nintendo, and some of these games are, there's some good gems in there. Tempest 2000 is a highlight. It also, has this supposedly spectacular version of Alien versus Predator that whatever. It's a version of Alien versus Predator. But I mean, there's a few other. Atari Karts goes for a ton of money just because I think it's, Atari's ripoff of Mario Kart. But right, there's a few other, and I guess that's not something that they would bring out. But right, there's stuff there aside from the terrible 2600 games. So I would hope that they would dig into all of this. If they're smart, they've recollected all these old, at least Atari original licenses.
I think if they were smart, they wouldn't have made this in the first place.
Well, okay,
I think we talked about when they initially announced this is like we were talking last week about, like, does Xbox still have a place in the market? And it's like, there's not really room, I don't feel like, for them to have any kind of actual success, like mainstream success with this.
But no. Here's the thing. I think it might be a case where they can produce 1 million and maybe make money, or maybe even less than that.
It'll all be eBay sellers buying them to sell them on eBay.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe 1 million's even too high. But right, maybe we live in this era of niche markets where they could just produce a limited enough run. Nintendo does it, right, for certain things.
Yeah.
It has to offer something more substantial than a flashback and
then a crappy Linux box afterwards. Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, now that said, if it offered it would have to come with the games. If you're going to charge me for Atari games, I'm going to laugh in your face.
I think I'd also heard a price point between 200 and 350 on this thing as well.
Wow.
Well, okay. If it comes in on the lower end of that, if it comes into 200 to 250 and has either a substantial catalog of already installed or cheaply available Jaguar Lynx, everything, the entire history of Atari, I might be in. Because I can put, it's a Linux box. Presumably, I can just throw Steam on it.
Or an emulator that runs all those games.
Yeah, well, that too. Yeah, that too. Exactly.
Wait a minute. It costs,
I don't know about.
It costs $250 It costs $250, and how many games does it come with?
They haven't said
any of this,
and they haven't said anything.
I thought you were
anything.
saying it just comes with 11 games. I was like, that's ridiculous.
What?
No,
you're thinking about the.
You're like a
hamster.
topic behind, yeah.
I'm a topic behind, yeah.
No, but to me that would sell me as a weird old man collector of this kind of stuff. If it was kind of a legitimate console that had Atari's entire historic back catalog available, I think I'd be on board. And again, if it is also a Linux box that you can do what you want with, I don't know. It may be very locked down or not. If it's like a Linux box, I can just throw Steam on, and at least a fair portion of the Steam library is also Linux compatible because Steam was pushing that Steam box thing for a while. So I would get use out of it, other than just a curiosity. Like I would legitimately load up Steam games and play them on it if that were a possibility.
Did you do that with the Steam box?
I have this. What I have, I didn't get a Steam box, but I got the little. I got the little $8 streamer box. No, here's the thing though. This is a different proposition. If it really genuinely has a historic Atari back catalog, not just the 2600. I picked up one of those crappy consoles for $30, the little mini ones, just for the heck of it.
You want this to be an Atari museum in a box, basically, with their entire history.
I don't know how it could be anything else and sell for
$250.
Yeah, that's what. It really better be, or they're just wasting their time and money. Like, you know what I mean?
There's that limited version that's got the wood panel too. I think because they were showing there's a wood panel version, so that'll be more expensive than the standard version.
Sure, I mean they made a nice box. Lots of people can do that. Like again, it really, and they've kind of sold it as such. I would say an Atari history in a box. I'd like to see them just make good on that. And there's a few different ways they could go. If it's a legitimate console that has some legitimate new licenses and just a little bit of third-party support, okay. I'm interested.
I think that's what they're going to need. They're going to need console exclusives. I don't think anyone's going to be like. I don't think as hard as like if Nintendo couldn't get third-party support for the Wii U and their Nintendo. Atari's got a real uphill battle.
Well, but here's the thing, though. They don't necessarily need direct third-party support if it just plays PC games. And I think they might be banking on that. Right? If it is a legitimate... what I think they're trying to do is bring back the Steam box, but slap the Atari name on it and include an Atari, some sort of Atari historic bonus to it.
I don't know if we know what kind of horsepower this thing's got either, because it's going to be underpowered compared to any PC.
I will guess it's in the range of a first-gen Xbox or PlayStation 4.
All right. That justifies the price right there.
I mean that's the only way. It would have to be something comparable to at least an original Xbox One to justify, like you saying, to justify the price. I would think.
But wood panels though.
Well, okay, and then the wood panel one, they can charge what they want because it's the fancy special edition. But I just mean, as far as the base box goes,
I'd love to pull for them. I'm just really skeptical about.
I'm skeptical,
anybody,
but
if Elon Musk said I'm putting out a video game system, I would be skeptical. Like,
well, if
at this point,
here's the thing: who is Apple competing with? Are they competing with Roku and Amazon Fire Stick, or they have mentioned media? So are they competing with that, or are they competing with PlayStation and Xbox? Or
right now, I think they're competing with those. I mean, they've got their Apple movies and their Apple Music, which kind of puts them into that Amazon territory.
Do they think they have their own niche?
Apple does have their own niche.
I'm not talking about Apple. I'm talking about Atari.
Oh, I thought you said Apple.
I'm sorry. I might have said
Apple.
Atari.
I think, I don't know. I really don't know. Like, I think Atari announced a few weeks ago that they've got their own cryptocurrency or something too. It's like,
yep.
I think they're just throwing crap at the wall to see what sticks.
Yeah.
It's like Amazon had their own, that was it the Ouya or whatever that was, or Ouya, that was like their gaming box. There was the Steam box. I mean, every
time there's some success in the industry, then everybody says, hey, I can get a piece of that. Because as we just talked about last week or the week before, it's going up every week, so, or every year recently. So, and they see Nintendo's got, the NES Classic, and they've got the Super NES Classic that's flying off the shelves. I guess they just think they've got the same thing.
Well, but they do already, because they had their mini consoles, and that's why Nintendo jumped on it.
But it's in every Walmart and Target and everything else across the country.
But I do think you're right in that they're looking at it. If Nintendo can make a comeback with the Switch, like the Wii U tanked, then we can make a comeback with this. Well, you haven't been in the market for 20 years, so this is a different ballgame.
And we don't know what kind of financial situation Atari is in. I wouldn't imagine it to be a very great one. So
they're looking for investors for their Roller Coaster Tycoon game.
That's right.
Which is already made.
But we just wanted to see if you wanted to put some money in it anyway.
Yeah, I feel like there's some guy who's just like, I've got an idea. They're like, great, let's run with that.
Yeah, no, it's a room full of idiots. I don't know. To me, if it were the Atari Dream System, right? The entire Atari back catalog, and plus, Steam Linux capability or whatever. All right, I'm on board. I might shell out, because I haven't, I spent the last big chunk of money I spent was on the Switch for something like that. I might be on board. Now, that said, I guess I wouldn't buy it at launch. I'd wait until they were on eBay for $50.
I'm also really less impressed with when these companies, come out and say, we're building a box. And that's all they're saying. It's not like, what does it do? What do you got on there? It's just like, we've built a box.
Well, but
it's like, I feel like they don't know.
Fairness, they're trying to follow Nintendo's model, you could say.
Yeah.
But Nintendo has a history of impressing people, or not. You never know. More often than not,
I mean, that's going to be something, I guess. But Nintendo doesn't say anything about anything.
But Nintendo is also a video game company that continues to make weird video game consoles that are sometimes huge hits.
And has been owned by the same people.
Nintendo
Atari is just a logo that's been sold.
Nintendo has a long history. Atari had a relatively short history and then has traded on nostalgia since. Ultimately. And people would argue that I was reading, up on a little bit of Atari history earlier, and apparently there was an Atari Panther that was supposed to come out to compete directly with the Super Nintendo. It was going to be 32-bit.
And then it became the Jaguar.
But the Jaguar they were working on both simultaneously, but the Jaguar was, further out down the line. It was just in preliminary stages. But apparently they were making far better progress on the Jaguar than they were on the Panther. So they shit-canned the Panther and decided to go with the Jaguar. Because of that, they ended up bringing a console out a year later than they originally planned, or thereabouts. And they were basically completely off the market for like 9 months or something at that point. Or they were completely off the market because their old console had already been end of life. They had nothing new coming out for it for 9 months or a year before their new console came out. A lot of people argued that's what killed them, is they just lost continuity. So they're in the same boat now, right? There's no continuity here. Nintendo has continuity. Right. Although they broke it with the Switch, there's 0 backwards compatibility, but
yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know. I think the market's. I think the market has settled, and 3 is the magic number, and maybe in the future it'll be down to 2. But I really don't
if it
think
goes
there's
down to
room
2,
for somebody
if it
else.
goes down to 2, somebody will pop back up. I think there will be something.
Oh yeah, there's always gonna be. I mean, there's always people popping up, but PlayStation was the last company that I can think of. Well, I guess Xbox did it kind of too, because they came after the PlayStation. But PlayStation came out and was like, "Here's another box, and it's different, and it actually worked." And Xbox, I don't know how the hell they ended up working out. Like, look at us, we're also a PlayStation.
PlayStation's value proposition was, we're Sony, we make the world's greatest TVs, we make the greatest hardware, the greatest entertainment home hardware. Buy our box. Microsoft came out.
They launched the disc generation, really, though, as far as success.
Microsoft's value proposition was, we're bridging the gap between PC and console, right? Because we're the PC company.
Right.
But at the end of the day, here's our Xbox clone, or our PS clone. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think
we've been talking.
Said all we can say on that.
Yeah. Drifting in the past here, and it's time to look ahead to the future. And of course, the future we're talking about is the Nindies Showcase, because everything was left in pretty much the wide open future. 2018 spring, 2018 summer, just 2018. That's kind of what we saw today.
Did we get any hard dates?
Nope, nothing.
No. And no Murphy's Law either.
Nor Ritual of the Night, which you had predicted, Mo.
Yeah.
I think, was there any games in here that anyone expected to see?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think I had heard of any of them before.
Yeah.
Banner Saga I'd heard of. I think that's it.
These were not on my radar.
Yeah,
no, they weren't on mine either.
Now,
that said, Pool Panic looks kind of cool, but go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't think there's a need.
Pool Panic?
I don't think there's a need for us to run down all of them, because I think most of these are ones that
watch it. It's 11 minutes long.
Yeah, it's 11 minutes worth of your time, worthy of your time. You meet a new Nintendo fan.
And I watched it on double speed and missed it.
Not even 1.5.
So
not even 1.5.
I was just going to say, what games looked interesting, and Z of course brought up Pool Panic, which is basically a game based around a pool cue ball, right?
Yeah, your main character appears to be a cue ball, and so the whole it reminded me immediately of Golf Story, where it seems to be some kind of adventure game all centered around pool ball mechanics. So you knock your little character around against walls and bank him, make bank shots to uncover stuff or whatever. It looks kind of neat. It's just kind of a neat, weird mashup, kind of the same. Like, I was excited about Golf Story. I did never pick it up, and at some point when it's cheap, I totally will. But this one kind of struck me the same way. It looks like a neat, interesting kind of, merging a sport with a traditional video game kind of thing, but with a sporting mechanic.
Yeah.
Hopefully it has motion controls, dude. I'll be all over it.
Yeah, it seems like new ideas are running out. So the new thing is like, let's just take 2 elements and combine them,
mash them up. It's neat. I like it. I think it's a legitimate genre to fill out. Things like Golf Story. You had a great time with Golf Story, right, Jason? You thought it was totally cool.
Brilliant. Yeah. If you haven't played it interests you, go get it.
Yeah, and Pool Panic I will absolutely be picking up. That one looks totally cool to me. Like, I think there's legitimate, you could argue it goes back a little bit to the arcadeization of sports games with the Mario Sports, right? It's kind of an expansion of that.
Yeah.
I thought the that Messenger game looked good because it's Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah. It definitely had that vibe.
I had not heard of that before, although if it's as the problem I always have with indies is that it seems like everyone is made to be hard as hell. With the exception of like Golf Story is not necessarily one of those. And Shovel Knight, I didn't think was too terribly difficult.
I thought they were both.
It was just right.
Yeah, just right.
Snake Pass qualifies as one of those difficult ones, I would say.
But Ninja Gaiden is hard as hell.
Yeah.
So if the Messenger turns out to be like an easier version of Ninja Gaiden with similar looking mechanics, and it had a cool like little 18 or a little 8-bit, and then it switches to 16-bit for certain modes, it looked cool. I'll be interested to see what develops on that front. And then what was the other one? Was it Mark of the Ninja?
Yeah.
I think that they didn't show any footage of, but it's been out on other systems for a while, which I have a friend who has it on PC and recommends it as being really fun. He said on PC you have to use like the keyboard and it makes it difficult, so he thinks it would be much easier to play on Switch.
I'm almost certain that on PC you don't have to use a keyboard.
Yeah, I don't know if it's mouse and keyboard or how it's played on that.
I'm sure it can use a controller, if you know what I mean. If nothing else, you can map the keys to a controller.
I suppose so.
But that game is set up for fall 2018, so we've still got quite a ways to go.
We may never see it. Well, that's the thing. We haven't even seen all the games that were announced in the last Nindy, showcase.
That's right.
That's true.
Morphe's Law is one that we've talked about a lot, and
yeah.
That's another one I was really interested in when I first saw it. My interest is waning the longer it takes for it to come out. Like by the time it comes out, I'm not going to care anymore.
Hey, I never cared about Pocket Rumble. I'm just upset that they said that they were going to be out just after the Switch launch, and we've got nothing. But that also I think is tied up because of online, and Morphe's Law has said that they've had issues with online. So there must be something with online games that.
Well, Golf Story was kind of similar. There was a very long period of time where nothing was said at all, and people just started, hitting up the publisher saying, "Can you give us an update? When will this be out?" And then finally they spoke up, and it's like, "Oh yeah, it's coming out soon." And then there it was.
Yeah, and I know. Oh, good.
I was going to say, with these release dates, all of them being really vague and prone to being delayed, I feel like maybe that's, the games aren't ready to be shown, or there's just, demo reels.
Yeah,
I don't know if Nintendo has like a master plan where there's things that they're like, this we think would be the best launch window for your game. Because I know I heard from publishers during the Wii U era that they would say like, we've got a Mario game coming out this week, so maybe that's not the best time to launch your indie game. Maybe if you hold off a week or so, it'll give it more visibility. So maybe, they might actually be trying to help these indie people by giving them release dates. Like, we know it'll be ready to go in fall. We just can't give you an exact date because we want to kind of see where the other chips fall. And fit it into a right time slot.
Go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say the two games that were not fitted into the summer and spring time frame was Mark of the Ninja, which is fall, and then Pool Panic, which is flat 2018. Everything else is spring and summer.
So, to me, this says one of two things, and I like where Mo's going is with their marketing department. They might really be. I mean, it may not look like it from the stuff that gets dumped on the eShop on a weekly basis, but they might be trying to kind of shuffle and coordinate release dates and say, okay, well, if we have 2 or 3 games that are all very similar, we're not going to release them the same week. That said, they'll release 3 pool games within a month period.
I think it's clear that they've got their favorites, like they're playing favorites, and like Celeste, there's games that they say we think this should be a hit or this should be successful, and and Shovel Knight, like they get behind certain ones, and there's a ton that come on the eShop and you never really hear about them again. But certain titles they tend to be, so they maybe not manipulate might be the wrong word, but there's certain ones that they definitely seem to give more support to than others.
Yeah, and they're trying to, they want to shuffle around the schedule and whatever. But the other thing this says potentially is, hey, we don't really have anything worth a damn to talk about right now, but we need to keep the buzz going. So let's reach out to all the indie devs and see what kind of demo reels they can give us. Anybody who thinks they're going to have a game ready this year, let's pull all any reels we can get from them, and let's do an Nindies showcase.
Mark of the Ninja, can you give us a clip? I've got a JPEG. Great.
That'll do.
Yeah, I feel like at some point there was a letter sent out saying, "Can you send us your demo reels?" And then they picked out which ones they wanted to show.
And then they sent one last night, like, "Hey, we need this for tomorrow." And they're like, "Oh, here, just take this picture."
They got it off their Twitter page.
Yeah, like
even to tell them
some of the stuff. What's the? Is it just? Oh God, what's it called? Just Shapes and Beats.
Mm-hmm.
Which I said like combine two genres that I don't like, bullet hells and rhythm games, and combine them, which is like a nightmare to me. But somebody's gonna like it. People who are into rhythm games, I guess.
There will be somebody that's dedicated their life to this game.
Yeah, it looked interesting, and really from the clips that they showed didn't really look as bullet hell as they mentioned. Like I guess Galaga's kind of a bullet hell sort of.
So that's it's one of the originals. Yeah,
the original.
And it's manageable, and I guess I love Galaga, so I don't know. Rhythm games though, I tried playing Enter the Gungeon, Dance Crypt of the Necro Dancer, and I was just like, I must not have any rhythm all of a sudden because I felt like I was doing horribly in that game.
Thumper's all right. That's about the only rhythm game that I think I sort of get and feel like I don't mind playing.
I thought the Rhythm Heaven demo that they put out on 3DS was okay, but what was there? I'm seeing a lot of games, and I had mentioned earlier when we were talking that before the show that I feel like Super Meat Boy inspired a lot more games than I realized. There's this. I call it the zoomed out platformer.
Yeah.
Where it's like
where you have a tiny little sprite. Yeah.
Yeah, so that they can make the level look humongous, with like big walls that you have to jump over. But there was a game that looked like that as well.
I think that was maybe Fantasy Strike. It was one of the earlier games because
was it? Yeah.
I'd read your comment before I actually watched it. And
before watching it.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, it's like that's like seems to be a whole genre. That's the problem I have is when I see these games, and I had talked in previous weeks about like there's the shadow games where it's like they're real dark and you just kind of see like an outline of something, like real low lit.
Yeah.
Like I just see so many games that look like other games, and I can't get excited for them. I'm sure they're fine, but I think the Messenger was the only one from this one that I was just like, yeah, that looks kind of cool. Maybe I'll check that out.
It looks cool, but it still kind of looks like something I played before, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the only one, Pool Panic's the only one to me that's really seems unique and different.
And then the garage is so violent they can't even show you.
It's too mature. It's the Nindies Showcase.
Because it's the extreme pixel blood.
Eric, did you get a chance to check out the showcase?
No, I think I saw some tweet about it, and I was like, "Oh, indies, I don't care." I didn't know that it was it was like a mini direct, or
it's a Nindies Showcase, so yeah, it's like an 11-minute thing where they just show, and you get to meet Damon's boss.
He seems weird. Yeah,
the Nindy guy at Nintendo. Yeah, there's like here's another guy that I'm bringing in for no real reason.
Why does everyone that works there remind me of like the guys that pull cables in the server rooms that I work at?
Because they used to be.
Yeah.
They still are. You just don't know it.
They still are.
How about you, Max? Was there anything interesting?
I only got to see part of it at the pool party one that Z likes. That looked somewhat interesting to me. That's about it.
I'll have to rewatch this because I watched it twice and that one didn't particularly catch my eye, but maybe I'll watch it again.
Just look at the gameplay mechanic.
Something. Yeah.
Like you can see how it works. I don't know. It looks cool to me. Did you pick up Golf Story, Max, or no?
I did, but I haven't had a chance to play it.
Ah, the backlog.
Yeah.
You gotta play some of it and see some of the humor. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Just off of Jason's recommendation, I've almost picked it up a few times.
Do it, man. Do it.
We'll see. I saw the Game Grumps on the old YouTubes have started playing it, so that'll probably help it out a little bit. Give it a little shot.
It has no multiplayer, right?
No. Well, no. Wait a minute. I take that back. I think you can play multiplayer, but it's not in the game. It's just separate. Like,
and it's got a cool Joy-Con speaker kind of thing to it.
Yeah.
Where it uses the motors in the Joy-Con to make noise, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
which is a gimmick I'm all for, but I like the pool one is a little more interesting to me because it's an actual 3D game. You know, it's a little more modern.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, overall, I was really kind of expecting at the end when they're like, we've got one more game to show. I was like, they must be some huge game that I don't even know. They're gonna be like, holy shit, we got Cuphead. No. I was expecting a heavy hitter. They're like Banner Saga 3, I guess.
It's
and
so
also
amazing.
Banner Saga 1 and 2 are coming.
It's so amazing you've never heard of the previous two games.
Yeah, I can't really judge that though because I'm out of the loop on anything that's not on a Nintendo system.
No,
so
I definitely like Banner Saga was like, wow, I've heard of that. That's it. I don't care otherwise.
And it's like one of the games they showed was a tactical game that looked like any other thing where you move troops of people around. And
that was like West of Loathing, and it kind of sounded interesting, and then it's like, huh? Oh, you just kind of look at it, and it's like what they're saying about it doesn't really. When you look at the game, it doesn't connect.
Yeah, I almost feel like this showcase was sort of a swing and a miss a little bit. Like,
yeah,
here's
disappointing,
and it feels like they didn't really go into depth on a lot of stuff. They're just like, here's a little bit of here's a couple pictures. This is the name of something that's coming, and it's coming one of these days.
Very short clip, yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, a lot of the stuff probably has already been out on other systems, so other people probably know it.
And like I was saying, most of them, like the Reigns, Kings, and Queens, I'm not even sure what that game was about, other than they showed these little pictures and your decisions matter, but what?
Yeah, they didn't explain it at all.
The only one,
yeah.
The only one that's kind of caught my attention since the Direct, or rather since the Spotlight, is the Luminous Remastered. And that's because someone linked some of the soundtrack, and I did like the soundtrack. And it does use HD Rumble, so I don't know. I'll keep an eye on that one. And
I will point out Banner Saga, like you guys noticed in it looked like hand-drawn animation in the Nindies Showcase, right? That's how the game is. Like all the gameplay and the characters. So I mean, you know what I mean? I can see it. It's got some style to it. But it's like a turn-based RPG. It's definitely not my thing.
Looked like a boring Renaissance fair to me.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, right? But that's kind of. But there are
turn-based Renaissance fair.
There are people who are in for that.
You know? Yeah, I know there are.
It didn't even look turn-based to me. It just looked like it's like a visual storybook or something. I don't know.
If you like Monty Python and the Holy Grail, check it out.
They only showed the cinematics. They didn't show any of the actual gameplay in the Nindies Showcase. It kind of, looking at it, it kind of looks like it plays out like kind of like an XCOM, right? Where it's that kind of grid-based, where you
strategy.
It's like a strategy.
Yeah,
tactical RPG.
Or Mario Rabbids.
I like tactical RPGs, but yeah, that one did not.
You got to get Mario Rabbids.
Yeah, I've thought about it, but let's go play some Fire Emblem instead.
Rent it, yeah. All right. Anybody got anything else to say about this showcase?
I will say one thing that Nintendo had going for them. Several of the titles were either Switch exclusive or first on Switch. So Good on Nintendo doing that.
Which they did. What scares me about that,
right?
Maybe.
I think so. I think it was the Switch exclusive.
Yeah,
but
3.
Remember last time they said first on Switch during their last Nindies Showcase, and a bunch of the companies were like, "What? We never said it was coming to Switch first, or that it was exclusive to Switch."
One or two said that. But, yeah.
Hopefully,
someone screwed up.
They found out before they did it this time. But it is Nintendo, so you never know.
I don't know. Was there anything that like I was kind of expecting Ritual of the Night as an announcement after you mentioned it, Bo. Because they probably have enough to do a demo reel at this point.
There was a it's weird. There was like a backer announcement, I think, in the last few weeks that said before the end of the month we're going to announce a release date, I think. So, which is funny, like now that games will be like, we're going to announce when we're going to release the game. Stay tuned. It's been in development for 3 years.
That is true. Yeah, I did get that. Here's the thing. When I get those backer updates, I basically skim them for the word Switch. And if I don't see it, I don't read it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that one's been confirmed for Switch, though.
It has.
Because they originally had the Wii U backer and they changed that to the Switch, right?
But like Ukulele, it's behind everybody else, probably. So that's, and I don't hear specific updates on Switch progress. I just assume, okay, it's going to be way behind.
Yeah. Although from what I've seen, it's one of those ones that looks more like a Mighty Number 9 type of, but for Castlevania.
I certainly hope not.
So, yeah, I'm on the fence on that one. I need to see more to be convinced, but I want to like it.
Well, here's the thing: is I don't know what everybody's expectations are, and I also don't know what Ukulele's state was when it launched on other consoles. But as far as I'm concerned, the game I put in money, on Kickstarter for is the game I got. I mean, I'm perfectly happy with it. I didn't put a ton of time into it yet, just because there's so damn much other to play, and it came out so late, right? I was one of those things where I waited so long for it that when I did finally get it, it's like, well, I got Odyssey, I got, all sorts of stuff. I only put some time in to try movies, it out, but I liked it.
It's like there's going to be a bunch of mediocre ones. There's going to be a couple great ones and a couple that suck.
Sure,
so it's like
but I mean,
a 3 out of 5 is the most you could hope for.
Yeah, and I don't have crazy high expectations, but if it's fun enough and it's not broken, right? Again, if it's not a Mighty Number 9 type situation, if it's still a good game and it's just maybe it doesn't live up to the hype or whatever, all right, I'm still all right with that. My expectations are not super high. And again, I didn't, I was just kind of in the mode to, oh, this sounds cool. Why not? So I'll drop $12 or whatever I put. But again, that was around the same time I dropped money on Ukulele, and Ukulele has since come and gone. And this one is, I don't know, man, it's some really slow progress.
But as Jason said, on
2D platformer versus a fully 3D game. Sorry, go ahead.
On the release date stuff, it's really weird to me that they did that with the last Direct and now with this, where it's like they've got a whole year that they are going to be putting out Directs and crap. I don't know why they feel the need to be like this, like tell us now. You can look forward to this in the fall. Like,
again, I think it's because they don't have anything else to. It's like they just need something.
That might be. I don't know why they need. I feel like they didn't need this Nindies Showcase right now.
No.
Is anybody expecting this to be followed up with another Labo size announcement?
Yeah,
like they did last time. Right.
Maybe if we all take to Twitter and say like, that was the worst Nindies Showcase. When are you going to release this indie version of Smash?
Okay, so when did they tell us about Dark Souls? Was that in February? Or was that January?
January.
That was in the Direct that nobody liked.
Okay.
Right.
That was the big
So now it's mid to late March. What other big titles do we have coming out? Well, Smash. They did tell us Smash.
Smash is announced.
That's a big deal to some people.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's they're big with announcing stuff and then not giving us any more details on it. Like that's their thing now.
Yeah, Prime.
Like all the stuff from the Micro Direct, they really, I mean, Celeste was one that was in there, I think, and they were like, it's coming out soon, and it came out. But we haven't heard anything else about anything else really from there.
Yeah, it's Wii U territory here. It's
I don't even know when Donkey Kong's coming. They probably have already announced a date. I just don't know.
I thought it was already out. No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Same difference to us.
Tells you how much we all care.
Yeah.
I will say there was one interesting thing about the timing. Perhaps
May. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say all of them are for either spring or summer. So perhaps that's just the first part of the year, and that's what these Nindies are about. But also, it could be something to do with the September release of the online service. Maybe they don't want maybe there's not going to be anything scheduled around that time.
I've given them too much credit,
except for Smash.
Here's the thing:
too much forethought.
Exactly, because if the online service has already slipped a whole year when it was supposed to launch only 6 months after the launch of the system, like, to me that means they don't have it together. Something's, you know what I mean? They're not organized.
It's hard to get a read on Nintendo. I mean, they basically announced that the NX is the Switch, and then released the system like 6 months later. They were like, we're going to announce what our next system is, and then they're like, it's coming. Like that was the quickest turnaround from the time of a console announcement to the console release ever. So it's like now, they might just come out with some stuff at E3 and be like, by the way, this will be out tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think we were all kind of hoping they would do something like that today.
Yeah, I think their online service, though, I really do think that they're going to put Smash out, and that's going to be their big online game. But yeah, they better have some stuff. And another theory could be that maybe they're just getting all this stuff out of the way because we can hope that they've got an epic E3 planned, and this is just them kind of like, here's the stuff that nobody's going to really be super excited about.
I think
we promised the developers we'd mention it.
I think that kind of thinking is just going to get us. It's going to set us up for a big letdown.
Yeah, I agree.
I imagine E3 will be really. We're showing one game and it's Smash and it'll be playable, and that'll be the only thing we have to announce.
Have we heard any numbers on the third-party stuff yet? Like, could that be drying up for a reason, or are we really just waiting for the next round of it?
Oh, I still am waiting for a next round. I don't know.
I'm skeptical.
Dark Souls is a third-party game.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's been, I know, but when's Dark Souls come out? And it's the one, and it's been how long now since Doom and like Skyrim and all that stuff hit? It's been 6 months.
We've eventually got Wolfenstein coming still. Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I still think that stuff's probably all destined for a holiday, like October to December. They'll probably drop another.
Is that what we get? We get we get half a dozen big third-party titles every Christmas, and that's it.
You'd think they got to turn on the faucet at some point and start flowing.
Yeah, I don't.
It's like that. You'd think people would be eager to put stuff on the Switch, and then you get this like Sega Genesis collection that's skipping, and it's like, why not just put everything?
That's got to be planned, because Sega will make money anywhere they can. So there's got to be some backroom dealing going on that's not on Switch right now. I don't think that's even competence, because there's no reason.
We're Nintendo conspiracy theorists here.
A little bit.
Aren't all Nintendo fans?
Yeah, we know that they've got some major plan for us.
Well, that's the thing, and Nintendo's notoriously, worthy of conspiracy theories. Like they notoriously do weird shit. So
they'll do something much weirder than we can dream up.
Yeah, that's the thing. Whatever our conspiracy theory is, however close we are, it will almost certainly whatever they do will be something more oddball, like Labo, like that.
Didn't see that one coming.
Did anybody see that coming? There was not a single random that I saw. Maybe there were leaks, and everyone's like, "Are you kidding me?"
No, I don't think there was any leaks there. I think that's the other thing I will say. So in the Switch era, for the most part, they've gotten their leaks under control. Even when the Direct was gonna come out, and there was a bunch of here's what they're gonna show on the Direct. It's like none of that stuff was there.
You know how they've gotten their leaks under control?
Because they don't know.
They've stopped telling Reggie.
I think they've.
Because we've noticed this more and more often now. Reggie says stuff like, "Oh, there'll be plenty of NES classics," and then a week later they're discontinued. You know what I mean? He's been left with his pants down making these statements because obviously he doesn't have all the info from back home. And I think that may be part of their no leak strategy is just not tell the U.S. wing any of it.
Well, yeah, I would imagine most leaks probably do come out of. I could see
our side.
Those dirty Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, of course, we want to hear what you guys think as well. So, did you see anything interesting in these new Spotlight? Is there a Nindy that just needs to be on your Switch? Of course, you can always.
What's not out that you'd like to see? Because my list of indies is kind of run out. I have no idea. After Owlboy and
things that are exclusive to other consoles.
I don't know. I don't know what Nindies I'm looking. What Nindies haven't we got that we should have?
Seems like I've always had at least one Nindy or something. It's like I'm going to keep an eye on that. But now it's like, oh,
it's got to be exclusive. It's got to be a new exclusive Shantae. Okay, maybe, or something along those lines. But otherwise, it's at least for me, it's cheaper and easier to get on Steam, and probably for you, Jason. A lot of these are Mac compatible. You really should, I know we're a Nintendo podcast, but you really should dig back into Steam a little bit and see
why wait.
So many cheap, or either free or almost free deals, and occasionally they're Mac,
Right.
Well, let us know.
But right.
Let me check things out. On occasion.
I don't know. There's things. I mean, and the Switch is different things to different people. Some people really are totally happy to rebuy Super Meat Boy just to have it on a sweet portable tablet. I'm not, but there are people like that out there. And so fine to cater to them to some degree. But for me, it's got to be something I can only get here. And unfortunately, most of the time that means a Nintendo title. And that's the problem with Nintendo consoles for third parties is they never sell anywhere near as well as Nintendo first party titles do.
Yeah.
Hey, we got Golf Story and we got SteamWorld Dig too. So.
That's right.
Those were both exclusive?
Yep.
Oh, that's another selling point for Golf Story right there.
But what do you want to see exclusive to Nintendo Switch?
I do believe SteamWorld Dig 2 has come out now on other platforms.
Oh, has it?
I think maybe. The timed exclusivity.
Yeah, for everyone.
Yep.
Now that said, I bet you that's one of those devs that's going to say, "Hey, we made more money on Switch than
Definitely.
whatever."
I think they already have.
Yeah. Oh, did they?
And it's on 3DS now too.
Yeah. Seem like good developers, so if you don't buy their games, you should think about it.
I want them to continue the 3DS line, man.
Yeah, me too.
As a side note.
Wait, did you say continue or discontinue?
Continue.
Oh yeah, me too.
He was willing to go either way, I feel.
I'm pretty sure he was.
No, it's gotta live as long as it's already been 7 years. That's pretty long. I like it though.
I would love to see a new 3D capable handheld come out with 2 screens that is a new machine, but also supports backwards compatibility with 3DS cartridges. Just saying.
Oh, you mean a new? You mean a new? What do you call it? A new
The
console,
new Virtual
or just
Boy.
Another reason.
I'm talking about a new 3DS.
That's what they should call
New
it too. New 3DS.
I like the
A newer
I like the
new 3DS.
Like faster and furiouser river.
I'm just saying it has, a huge library, and every handheld up until right up through the 3DS had some sort of backwards compatibility. The OG DS could take GBA could take the Game Boy. Right? So they've always had some level of backwards compatibility, and now the 3DS is it's a dead line. It's an extinct family line, It's kind of depressing. Whereas the home consoles, it was what it was as far as backwards compatibility went. Sorry, go ahead, Jason.
I was just agreeing with you. It was. 3DS has been part of our life for a long time now.
No Nindies Showcase in the last 2 for 3DS either, I will say.
That's true.
Right? It was such a smooth transition to the 3DS, right? You could pick up a 3DS with no games. And, I still haven't finished. Like, when I bought my 3DS, I was still playing on Star Fox Assault before I decided I hated it and put it away. But I was in the middle of Star Fox Assault. So I went and got my new hardware and popped in Star Fox Assault and continued playing my game on my new 3DS for a while. You know what I mean? It was that nice smooth transition. It's always been like that with all the Nintendo handhelds until now. So I'm gonna miss that.
But there's exciting things coming to Switch eventually.
Like cardboard.
It's an open future for it.
I still think Nintendo, a really smart move for Nintendo with the emerging retro hardware market, right? 8-bit Doe making the controllers and whatever. Nintendo needs to jump into this hard, and they could just take this market in a heartbeat. Them and their hardware partners, right? Remaking all their retro controllers, modern wireless.
Perfect time with Smash.
Plug and another one, dude. Imagine a USB plug-in
the
cartridge
GameCube
slot.
Pro controller.
Yeah,
you're thinking.
Yeah, no, totally.
Why use the adapter at all?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's all about that latency, though.
Sure. And so you have, just like the Pro controller, it can be wired or unwired with.
Well, that's the thing too. That's true.
But right.
They could for wired latency.
They could re-release all this retro hardware. Maybe they're planning to do it when they launch whatever form the virtual console takes now. But I think they would be stupid not to get into that market. Another thing they need to do is the rise of those Retron consoles. There's a million of them out there, and there's companies making super fancy $300 retro consoles now that play your old cartridges. Nintendo would be utter fools if they didn't have some sort of USB plug-in or a Switch dock that had a cartridge slot on it or multiple cartridge slots on it, right? And use the Switch as the core for this whole thing. You got any old Nintendo cartridges? Pop them in.
I need to get to even stupider stuff, but do you think we could ever see GameCube Joy-Con for Smash?
GameCube themed Joy-Con, sure.
Like layout.
No.
Put the little.
The closest you would see is the
bottom stick turned yellow.
No, I was gonna because I've been looking at all this old stuff. They made a Game Boy player controller for the GameCube. Have you guys ever seen that?
No.
It's this weird unholy hybrid of like a Super Nintendo controller and a GameCube controller. It's the general form factor of a Super Nintendo controller, but it's got the big weird button setup of the GameCube buttons on the right side, and then I think a D-pad, right? Because it was supposed to be for the Game Boy player, so it was supposed to be a GBA controller roughly, but it still was GameCube-y. Yeah, if you've never seen the thing, it's the Game Boy Player controller, I think is what they call it. And I think it was Hori. Yeah, Hori Game Boy Player controller. Available on Amazon for one new from $240.
Damn.
It's amazing.
Have you ever seen it? If so, hit us up on our Twitter, NOA Podcast.
Oh. Yeah, can you share my screen, Jason?
I can.
Let's see. So are you, which one are you sharing? Banner Saga or Amazon?
Just if you'll hit it up, do the screen share, and then it should just appear up on screen. You'll have to do it through Hangouts.
Oh, I got to do it.
Yep.
I see.
Yeah, there is one huge advantage to watching on YouTube, and that is getting to see all these cool screen shares.
So right, it's the layout of the game. It's a shape of a Super Nintendo controller with the GameCube button layout.
Oh,
Is that the weirdest thing ever?
Yeah, I've never even heard of that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I just ran across it looking at Game Boy Player stuff on eBay or actually no, it was
nobody
on that
else
Gaming
has
Historian.
either based on the price.
Yeah, no doubt. I'd love to see if I could scare one of these up used, but here's a picture of one on lots of pictures of it on Google Images. Black one and an indigo one.
Of course, the real players choose indigo.
Yeah, I just discovered I can pick up an indigo Game Boy player from Japan, and I think the hardware is. I think I have to double check. I think the hardware is region free. It's just the disc that's region locked, so I don't need. I have the disc. I'm tempted.
Although you also always have an option to use your Game Boy, your GBA as a controller as well.
Yeah, that was always a neat trick. I almost want to pick up Pokemon Coliseum just for that, but go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you can link cable, I think, into the GBA player and use your system as a controller.
Yeah, unlike the original Super Game Boy that had no such port.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we got off on a tangent, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But of course, if you're a fan of the show, we do that quite frequently. That's what makes
we
it
have no self-control.
That's right. Not when it comes to Nintendo. All right. I want to thank everyone for watching tonight, and happy spring, by the way. So, first day. So, if you want to find out more, you can hit us up here on YouTube. You can always drop us a comment, give us a good like. We appreciate those. You can find us at NOA Podcast on Twitter, and of course on iTunes and Stitcher. So, thanks for watching, and have a good night.
Party on.
Night.
Happy spring.